All right, we're here live on a Friday night at 8 o'clock at night. We will be live in the morning, but I just want to come on tonight because we do have a special guest. Like I said, it's Cybersecurity Month, but I want to make sure that you're getting the information, and I should say the proper information that you need in terms of you know what route you should take in tech. How do people get started? What are people currently doing? Where's the need? Where you see the growth at? That's super important, right? But first things first, we're gonna do our housekeeping, and then we're gonna roll into the interview. If you don't know who we are, we're Women in Linux. You can find us at womeninlinux.org. You can hit us on Slack. If you hit connect here, that's going to take you to sign up. You need the Slack app on your desktop or on your phone in order to use that. There in Slack, you'll find a wealth of information where we talk about everything. When I say everything, everything from job offers, recruiters are in the Slack, anything that you could possibly think of, right? And if you want to shop with us, you can shop with us on our actual shop here. If you hit shop, hit all products, you'll see all the products that we have. We got some stuff in this week, some clocks, some uh, uh, and then I think we got some sweatshirts. I know we got some sweatshirts, hats, so forth. So like they say, winter is coming. Get you a hat, right? If not, get it, and give it to someone for a gift or whatnot. All right. So you know, don't be afraid to get some products. And this is our 5 year anniversary. Oh, and I got some other stuff to talk about too. So we'll get to that. And again, donate. Right. You don't have to donate with money. You can donate with your time, even though money goes a long way. Um, for you, right? The donation is not for us. The donation is for us to bring people to you, to bring jobs to you, to bring training to you. That's what we're here for, to help build a community, right? So if you hit donate, it'll be donate to PayPal. It goes directly to us. It's not like PayPal takes a percentage. If you don't like to do that, and you're not really sure if you want to do it that way, guess what? We do have super chat. You can super chat. You can send us a sticker. You can cut a check, send it in the mail. Um, just multiple ways to get to donate. And if you don't want to do anything monetarily, you can donate with your time by coming on a live. We can interview you so you can get information out to other people. You can write a blog. There's just multiple ways. When next year comes around, you'll see a whole new wheel. I'm trying to tell you, you have no idea what's coming. Instead of winter is coming, wheel is coming. That's where we'll be at for that. And then the other thing is, if you're looking for some particular site to use, you can use IT Pro TV in terms of studying. If you go to IT Pro TV and type in Women in Linux as your code, I think you get 20 or 30% off for your code. And they have a slew of classes. Again, each platform is different. A cloud guru is different than what free code camp is, and that's different from what Coursera is. That's different from Udemy. That's different from Udacity. So you have to figure out how you learn. And so again, sign up for these trial periods that they have on some of these platforms, and just spend an hour in each one to figure out which one works best for you. Some classes and on some platforms are updated more frequently. You got to remember, it's people creating code content, right? I mean, creating the code, people that are creating the content. So if they don't have somebody to update that content, guess what? It's not going to get updated, right? So you got to just keep that in mind. When you're looking at content, if it's an AWS class from 2017, you 9 times out of 10 you don't want to take that, right? So You just have to be careful about where you go get your content from and so forth and so on. All right. Another one is last but not least, our happy hour is tomorrow. Um, D, what time is it? 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock? I don't know what time our happy hour is, but we have a happy hour tomorrow. Bring your drinks, like this one, right? Bring your drinks, so we can have, so you can have a good time with us. I don't know if we're gonna do it live or not. I think we'll probably keep that six. D says 6 p.m. We'll probably keep that kind of, on our go-to meeting. So, you can say what you want. We don't want to, if you get drunk or fall out your chair or something like that, it's not recorded. You know what I'm saying? It's not on YouTube. You save yourself, right? Cool. All right. Is anything I'm missing, D? Do you know if there's anything I'm missing? Did I miss out on anything? I want to get a shout out to Sasha. I see you. Hey Zoe, how you doing? What's going on, Sasha? Anything I missed, D? Oh yeah, the one on ones. Oh yeah, sign up for the one on ones, right? I know I won't be able to do a one on one this Tuesday, right? So it'll probably be next week, right? If you're doing a one on one, if you hit me up on the calendar or on LinkedIn or wherever, and be like, hey, I can't sign up. This week will probably be out, but next week, the following week, it should be open for you, probably for the rest of the year. For the one on ones, you should be fine for that. I think that's everything. All right. So while we meeting tonight, okay, we meeting tonight because I reached out to Mr. Derrick Thomas, and I talked about him this week, and I talked about him last week. We get a lot of questions about cybersecurity. I talked about Bsides. I talked about, how to get started. What should you be looking at? And I always tell you, you don't have to hear the information from me. You can hear the information from somebody else and make your own judgment. But I try to bring to you people that are in the industry that are doing it, and also somebody you can reach out to if you had questions and you feel like I might have told you something wrong, or you went on a YouTube channel and they told you need to have 5 degrees before you get into cybersecurity, right? That's what we're here for, to get you the proper information from people who are in the field, who have been doing it, and also hiring as well too, right? So that's what we try to do. So let's bring Mr. Thomas on, so you all can check Mr. Thomas out. How you doing, Derrick? Thank you for
Hey,
joining us tonight.
thanks for the invite. Hear a
Oh
lot.
man, it's been a
Mhm.
while.
Yeah. This COVID thing is kept us apart. So yeah.
It's been a while. So I'll give y'all a brief background on how we met. I think I came to one of your B sides,
Mhm.
and we got to talking, and you were like, "Can you do this Linux class?" And I was like, "Sure." And I think I did a Linux class, and you were like, you were requested again, and that's how we got started. And really at B-Sides, I was just telling, and people get mad at me when I say this, I was telling all the people who had CISSPs they need to go get some technical background, because those CISSP, I mean, that's just where we're at. It's nice to know the compliance and the rules and stuff like that, but that tech background, just knowing the basic Linux and stuff like that, that just really helps you, solidifies your longevity. I would
Mhm.
say that in tech, right? So
Mhm.
that's my take on it. More than welcome to interject and say no, that is not right.
Yeah.
But that's just what I have seen when it comes down to, especially if we're talking about on the government side. They're like, oh, so you got a CISSP. Can you make us a pipeline? And you're like, no. And they're like, well, yeah, that don't help us. Right. So we need to get somebody else. Right.
Yeah.
And shout out to EJ NYC. Thank you for that. I was going to say thank you for the cash app, but it's not cash app. Thank you for the super chat there. We appreciate you. So Derrick, um, tell us who you are and how you got started. What are you currently doing? I know you made some shifts, and I'm gonna preface this. This man, I was on LinkedIn, and I it was on a Monday. I was like, boom, Mr. Thomas has been congratulations to him because he just got this certification Wednesday. Boom. He got this certification. Then Thursday, boom. I was like, it was back to back. I was like, every time I check LinkedIn. So now I just go on LinkedIn looking for how many certifications you got. Right?
Yeah, I
So
don't
tell
keep count.
so tell us about who you are, how you got started, and what you're doing now.
All right, sure. My name is Derrick Thomas. Native, born and raised in Tampa. Um, Went to King High School, and from there I went to University of Tampa and USF. Majored back then we didn't have a computer major, so it was a um, business information systems where you did mostly business classes, but they threw in like a computer class because yeah, everyone thought that, oh yeah, that'll come handy, but it wasn't really that emphasized. From there, I went to University of Phoenix, master's, and from there I went to Stetson College of Law to get my law degree. Um, I started off in IT. I first um, got an interest in IT back in like the fourth or fifth grade when the uh, TRS 80 or Trash 80s came out. Basic program language, easy to pick up. They sent a whole bunch of them to the elementary I went to, and they gave us some books to read, and I just fell in love with it at that point, knowing that oh, it's easy. You can just write the program. This is old school back in the day. There was no like programs on a disk. You either bought a magazine and you wrote down the code and created the programs. So started from there, got the interest in there. Took some classes at USF when I was in second junior high school. Um, After graduating college, I worked at several different companies. Started off first IT job started off at IBM, then went to AT&T, then went to the Department of Defense, then went to um, back to IBM, and then from there I went to Citibank. From there I went to GE Information Systems, or GEIS. Then Citibank, Accenture, where mostly contracting work out there, to PricewaterhouseCooper, to Amgen, and now I'm at Deloitte. I'm a solution manager where when Deloitte bids on contracts, I help uh, create the solutions and turn pricing and bids for it. So it encompasses a lot of what I've learned. To do the pricing and bidding, you have to be familiar with what it takes to actually build some of the stuff out, such as someone wants to migrate their on-prem environment to the cloud. Well, how much does it cost, and how long does it take, et cetera, et cetera. So it's actually pretty fun. It's an interesting job. Deloitte is a weird company because there's no one thing that they focus on. Like if you go to like some companies, you go to like a bank, you're only going to focus on banking. But Deloitte, you can go to IT, AI, cryptocurrency, uh, quantum mechanics, quantum computing. It's a cornucopia of different topics you can jump in on. So I
Oh
like,
yeah,
yeah, that's one of the things I really like about the company is that you can never get bored. There's always something
right.
for you to look into and learn from.
So
And
now you went from law, and I met you. You were doing cyber.
yeah,
So how did you go from law to cyber? What was
trigger
the
point.
transition there?
Well, I have a tendency to go to school whenever there's a big financial crisis. So I went to law school, but around the same time we had the big real estate bubble. And after I graduated, there really wasn't that many law jobs available. But there were some. My almost my last year in law school, I took a IT law class, and it was looking at the legal aspects of IT, such as breach or how to share data, etc. And it was still a fairly new field, but I had that IT background that actually helped out. So I took more and more classes on that, and when I graduated, I started doing something called administrative law at one of the companies I worked for, where you're looking at, okay, these are the um, digital laws for this particular company. We want to trade with them. How do we know that we're actually meeting those laws? How do we know what this means? Because remember, in law school, most people graduated with degrees in like literature or political science, something like that. So there wasn't really that many people with the IT background. So I can actually use my IT background to help look at and say, okay, no, in China, they require this level of encryption. They require data to actually remain in their city, blah, 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 blah. So it helped me out there. So I was able to actually use what I learned in IT and use some of the things I learned in law to help me grow into that business.
All right, so that sounds more like along the lines of maybe compliance and getting into GDRP,
Hmm.
if you and how data should live
Hmm.
on a system and how data should be transported to and from.
Yeah.
So on an average day when you were doing that particular position, who like what type of person would you be working with? Would you be working with like an engineer, or would you be working with a team lead or just a team of people?
It was mostly the team. I would be like the middle person where I would work with the legal group. I would work with the engineers, and I work with the project managers because the IT team, they're great on tech. They know their stuff. But when you tell them about, okay, compliance, they're like, I know how to make it work. I don't see why I have to do these step one, two, three, four, five, and six. So you have to actually look at the document, and determine, okay, what are they saying that you must do? How do you determine what is the proper evidence? And then tell that to the engineer side and say, okay, this is what must be done, and this is how we actually need to verify that it has been completed. So it was a mixture of both groups, and it was actually pretty fun because um, back then there wasn't that many IT laws. It pretty much was the wild wild west in IT world. It wasn't until you start seeing more breaches, and then people start complaining like, who's responsible for this? If um, the Bank of England gets hacked and they steal someone's money, who's responsible for that? Is it Bank of England's fault? Well, depends. What do they do to prevent me from breaking into their system? Or if there was a transfer to a different country, um, who has domain over that particular arrest? Is it the country where the money was withdrawn from, or was it the country that it was sent to, etc.? So it's pretty interesting because it doesn't just it looks at a lot of different aspects of IT and the legal department, and it's changing every day. Like there's a lot that recently went down because of China, and a lot of data privacy laws are now being formed in America to protect your data,
Right.
besides GDPR.
Right.
Hmm.
So when you are as as a cyber person, right, and you're
Hmm.
looking at these rules and regulations, I know just from working, there's certain level of classifications you got to have if I'm going to the cloud, right?
Hmm.
Like I can't just go pick any cloud in order to have my data transferred back and forth and whatnot. So we're at what part of the process do you come in at when someone's trying to pick, okay, this project needs this type of compliance met and it needs X, Y, and Z. Where are you at in that process? Are you like, talking to the project managers, or you afterthought? Because usually cybersecurity is an afterthought. I just want
Yeah. Yeah,
to.
well, yeah. IT is always like the redhead stepchild. No offense to redheads out there, but yeah, it's always like the afterthought, especially security. Security is one of the fields where, um, with marketing, if I invest $1 million in marketing, I can show what benefit I got of it. Out of it, if I invest $1 million in security, I can't show any benefit out of it. All I can show is that you haven't been breached. But to most managers, they're like, I don't see any benefit from it. With me, I'm usually hopefully in the front somewhere because before you can do any company that wants to do business, at first it was if you want to do business outside the country. Now it's if you want to do business in another state. Because even states now have their own unique data privacy laws you need to be aware of. So,
Mhm.
and you'll find that also when you're doing work with the military. The military has plethora of different standards like NIST 800, DISA, or DoD, DFARS, etc. All these different standards based that you must comply with. So whenever you think about doing business with them, before you uh, buy anything, before you purchase anything, before you request anything, you need to talk to the data privacy person and determine what exactly do I need to comply to because what we found out a lot of time, people would bid on contracts and not take that into consideration. It's like, oh, okay, the Navy wants to do business. Okay, they want to just set up something to transfer files back and forth from their site in Manila or Puerto Rico to their office in McDill. Oh, I can do that. It's easy. How much you want to bid for it? 100,000. Pump your brakes before you bid on it. You got to look at the data privacy issues. How long you have to make sure that you're NIST 800-53 compliant. How long will it take you to actually meet that? Do you have anyone there who can actually show that you are meeting that? So, if you don't get someone like me or someone data privacy person involved in it, you're going to spend a lot of money for no reason at all, or lose a lot of money. So, like I said, traditionally you would want someone like me to be in the middle or in the beginning, but sometimes you know how it is. I'm at the end. When I'm at the end, I'm no longer the friendly person. I'm that person who is picking everyone off here. So
All right. So I know for our audience, they heard a lot of acronyms and they're like, what in the world is he talking about? So let's back
yeah,
up. DFARS, DFARS. Can you explain what that is?
that is a Department of Defense data standard. DFARS comes in different levels, from level 1 up to level 4. It's a level of security that the Department of Defense requires in systems. And like I say, with the military, with the U.S. Department of Defense, or any type of government agency, you'll have a lot of these different uh, standards and baseline you must comply with. They're making sure that you we can make that whatever solution you're uh, giving them will meet their level of security, so they can feel comfortable about using your system or putting personal or confidential data on it or allowing you to transfer it.
Right. Now, if you all been to our meetups, you know you've heard me talk about this NIST 800-53. It's just a common thing, but can you give a brief synopsis of the NIST 853 for those that don't know?
All right, well, that's the hard part. There's no such thing as synopsis with NIST 800.
I
It's
know, right?
yeah, it's a list of controls. The whole goal with NIST, National Information Security, or National Institute of, I don't know what the SP stands for, but
I'll look it up real quick.
yeah, yeah. But what it is a list of controls that they want to make sure that you have to ensure that they can feel comfortable about transferring data. Remember, the data that the government is going to be transferring has a lot of sensitive information, from a soldier's name, their address, social security number, maybe financial information, etc. So they want to make sure that those different controls or processes are in place. Now, it doesn't. NIST doesn't just deal with IT controls. It also deals with process, such as how do you actually train staff? What do you do when a staff member leaves? How do you delete that particular address? Et cetera, et cetera. So these controls don't just look at your computer where you're like, okay, well, I'll let the computer guys handle it. No, no, no. It's way goes beyond that. It wants to look at your policies in place or how you handle things like that, because you could have the newest computer in the world but the most dysfunctional staff, and guess what? You will still be breached. So NIST 800, those controls is like 250 different controls. It goes
Mm-hmm.
from access control to uh, everything. It encompasses a lot.
Right.
Um, so like I say, it's their way of making sure that you have enough control in place to make them feel comfortable. Um, the government doesn't have the resources to do all this stuff on their own, and most companies don't. You're getting back in the '60s, one company would handle everything, but now they find out that it makes no sense for them to actually do this on their own. Outsource it to a third party. Well, now that they're starting to outsource that to a third party, they were just like, well, how come this third party is not a nut who just, we accept bids from the lowest bidder, but we still need to make sure that our information is secure and safe. So how do we do that? We come up with these different standards. Before you can do business with us, you must meet these particular standards. And NIST 800-53A is the base of a lot of standards. From
Right.
NIST 853, you'll see other standards like uh, IRS 1075. This is a standard that the IRS has. If you want to do business with the IRS, you have to meet IRS 1075. It's based upon the controls in NIST 800. Or you have MAR-Z. If you want to do any type of work with Social Security Office, you have to meet MAR-Z compliance. Or ITAR. ITAR is International Trafficking Arms and Weapons. If you transfer weapons, which if you work with the DoD, you have to meet that standard. So learning this 800, learning all those controls will is great because from there it branches off to different other baselines out that you have to comply with. But pretty much everything follows the same 250 or so controls built out of Nest 800.
Right. So with all these different controls,
Mhm.
and really for us IT people, stop uh stop gaps of my pipeline. Um really what it comes down to. Uh, with all these controls, right? How can one who's never heard of any of these things, and I think you called it data processing, right?
Mhm.
Data processing agent, was that
Mhm.
what the title? Okay, how would one get started if they want to go into that direction as a data processing agent? Because I know you started in law, then you moved over to IT, so I figured your law degree helps in understanding some of the jargon and how things can work. But
Mhm.
where would one get started if they're they finish school, they got a degree in English and they want to go into cybersecurity?
Oh, yeah. I will always tell you there's several ways of doing it. I took the long, expensive route. You don't have to learn from my mistakes. um, with NIST and a lot of these standards, they're standards that are created by the US government, and guess who's paid for those? You are to pay for those. So the user government will usually make those available for you for free for you to learn what they are. Now, if you want training on them, there's a lot of free courses that you can find on different sites. Like Tamika talked about some of them already. I found out there's a lot on Udemy, however you want to pronounce it. So just go out there and look for NIST 800 or GDPR or CCPA or any of those acronyms out there. And you'll find out there's a lot of classes out there. A lot of this information was not available back in my day. Like I said, I'm a little older than some of the people out here on this call here. So the internet was not as built out as it is now. But nowadays, yeah, I recommend one. Just before you spend money, make sure check the internet to see what free resources you're out there. Now, be careful now. Not everything you find on the internet for free is legitimate. It doesn't take anyone with a mouse and $25 can create a website and throw something out there or create a YouTube video. So make sure you know about that person's background before you actually listen to them. But go to the different sites, go to Udemy, go to Udacity, etc., and just look up. Like I said, NIST 800 is the one that you want to learn the first that I recommend. Or if you look at ISACA, they're a great organization to be a part of to tell you more about some of these different audit, these different baseline programs, or ISSA or ISC Square. Uh, look at us, and we have a lot of programs out there. But yeah, like I said, go out there and look for free. Learn from like I said, a lot of the federal government will provide a lot of free training in this. And once you've peaked out on that, you want to go more advanced. Look at getting some of the certifications out there or getting some hands-on experience, and you can learn from that way. You unmute there, T.
My bad, I was on mute. D, can you pull the screen up? Yeah. So on ISC Square, here's the links for what they have in terms of CISSP, SSCP, CCSP, CAP, and CSSLP. Now, CompTIA has theirs too, right? They have
Mhm.
their certifications. Uh I'm not saying I'm anti CompTIA. I'm not gonna say that. I just think when it comes down like the SANS.org and ISC squared, I think they hold a little bit more weight when it comes down to the search. That's just me. Hey, you know. But we have this talk, right? A lot of people talk about, hey, go get your security plus, and you can go make 100,000, and that's not true.
Mm,
That's not true, right?
yeah.
Don't believe that. So Derek gave us this freebiesglobal.com. Freebiesglobal.com. And
Yeah. If you
so,
go to like the Udemy link at the top
uh-huh.
there, no, oh, this site changes every day. So what they'll do, they'll actually do a screen grab of all the different free classes in Udemy,
Hmm.
and the free class usually lasts for 2 days. So if you see a class out there you like, go ahead, click on the link, go to Udemy, and it'll let you get it for free. I haven't paid for a Udemy class in like about 5 years. Udemy has a lot of great courses, don't get me wrong, but I'm not gonna pay for it if I get free. I'm still I'm living the lifestyle of the black and the broke. So yeah, I like to keep my money close with me. So if there's a free class, yeah, I just use that instead.
All right. So what they do on this site, basically, what you're saying is they go across these sites, grab all the free classes, and post them back here on one site, so you don't have to look for all the free stuff.
Yep.
Got you. So D dropped that link for y'all. So look, you're getting gems already. Now I
Okay.
do have some other questions when we're
Yep.
talking about like ISC squared, and even with B sides, right? So I know, are you still chair or co-chair? Where are you at now with B sides?
Yeah. This is our ninth year. We'll be doing it again. I guess this is our grand announcement here. Doing your show. Yeah, we are doing it again this year, March the 5th, 2022. This will be a hybrid conference where part will be online, part will be in person. So if you're available in Tampa, now for some of you folks who aren't familiar with B-side, um, whenever you submit a CFP or call for proposal or call for presentation or talk, to a conference, they'll select some and they'll put them on the A list. And the ones that don't get selected that are really great, but they just don't have room for, it, they'll put them on a B list. And several years ago at DEF CON, the conference in Las Vegas, Jack Daniels, he was with the DEF CON group. He said, you know what, let's have a separate conference just for the folks who made the B list, and he called it Bsides. From there, franchise. So now there's Bsides in almost every city, country in the world. There's a couple hundred of them out there. Uh, there's one in Ghana. There's one in Cayman Islands. There's one in Mexico. There's one in Europe, etc. And we, along like 9 years ago, we reached out to them and said, "Hey, can we open up one in Tampa?" Because right now, if you're in Tampa and you want to go to a conference, you either have to go to Vegas, California, New York, etc. And my manager wasn't going to do that, and I'm lazy. I'm not going to pay for myself. So we decided let's form our own IT conference here in Tampa, and it has been going up pretty good. Our first conference went successful. It's so successful that we did it again. I think our largest conference uh, we had around 2,500 people that attended. So yeah, it has grown a lot. Um, our problem is that it grows too much because every other year we have to either get kicked out of a building or have to find a new one. So yeah, it's a 2 day conference usually. Traditionally on Friday we have all our training classes and things set up, and then Saturday we have 8 to 9 hours of talks, lectures, hands-on demos, different villages, etc. And this gives everyone a lot of people who are in IT, you need to go to conferences. I know some people say I don't go anywhere. I can do it online. No, you need to go to a conference because that's how you learn things. School is only going to take you this level. What you learn from friends and other people like Tanika here and will take you to this level. But you won't do this. You won't get to this level just going to school or staying at home. You need to actually meet people in person, and conferences allow you to do that. A lot of folks in Tampa could not go to conferences because going out to Vegas or California costs too much, maybe cost prohibitive, or you just don't like traveling. So our B-side conference helped fill that gap. And right now we get folks who come to talks. Uh, we're lucky because we traditionally do it during a winter time. So we have a lot of folks who are from New York, New Jersey, Chicago who want to come down to Florida in the winter because Florida in February and March are a lot better than Chicago in February and March.
Right.
So you get a lot of big speakers that come here just for that, and our attendees love it. So yeah, it's a great conference. We keep the price as low as possible. Our group's a 501(c)(3), so we don't do it for the money. Even though I still got student loans to pay off, we do it just for the fun of it. So yeah, if you're available, yeah, feel free to come on out.
And they you all also have capture the flag as well too,
Oh
or
yeah.
CTF there, and then there's also uh, uh giveaways as well too.
Mhm.
Um, uh, One of the talks that I ended up attending was where uh what was it? Yeah, where the lady came in from she was a cybersecurity engineer, and she talked about how, hey, if you ever download your contacts to your car and then you reset it back to factory, somebody can still take the module out and recover your contacts, right? So
Mhm.
we talked about that. We also talked about um I don't know if you all remember this, where somebody was able to hack I think it was a Jeep Cherokee,
Yeah.
uh, where you can
Yeah.
hack the Jeep Cherokee and take over and start driving it.
Oh yeah.
This was a couple of years ago. I want to say about 5 or 6 years ago that happened. But again, these are the kind of things that you hear about and find out in conferences and people who's actually doing the work as
Yeah.
well too. So,
Yeah.
so here you go.
Yeah, and our conference, we have a lockpick village where you learn how to break out of locks. Because for some reason, IT folks love locks. We have like the hostage challenge or ice bucket challenge where you stick your hand in ice. Car hack events. We have IoT hacking events where they show you how to actually hack like these baby monitors and those Nest cameras, etc. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's a lot of hands-on. It's not just a stop and sit back and read. We also try to get you involved in the process. And like T said, the capture the flag competition is always great. We expanded. We had a kids hack the flag. We had a cloud hack the flag. We had a missing person OSINT CTF where they give you a little bit of information and you use your OSINT skills to actually track this person down. And these are actually real missing persons. You actually see what you can do. And we've actually found a couple of people doing those
Mm,
CTFs. So yeah, it's a lot of fun there. We pack into those 2 days. I wound up
that's
tired, but yeah, it's great fun though.
Now this particular site right here, digital forensics and incident response.
Yeah,
Um, the
she
training.
yeah, she's a great person, and Ellen. She posted a lot of stuff on like the free and affordable training. If you're looking to get into digital forensics, she's a person you want to follow. She lists a lot of different classes and courses where you can find free or full training. Now, there's some people who are new into defer. Now, this is not the person who can afford to go to Sands. Well, Sands is a lot. Sands is great. Don't get me wrong, but Sands is expensive as all hell. You can spend a couple of $1,000 easily at Sands,
A
but
new
this is for the
car.
person, yeah, or a kidney. So yeah, so yeah, but this is the person who wants to learn about it but can't really afford mega $1,000. So these are great courses she links to, and she updates it every couple of days. So like I said, with these links, go back to them every couple of days to see what's posted out there that's new, and you'll be surprised what's out there.
Right. Now we do we get this question. Hey, I'm pivoting into tech from healthcare, and I want to go into cybersecurity.
Hmm.
What and since we have this shortage, we have a huge shortage for cybersecurity and a huge shortage just in tech in general. What is from the outside looking in, right? What would be your what would be your advice to someone who's, hey, I know nothing really about tech, but I know I want to go in cybersecurity. But again, where do you start, right? I know where I try to steer people to, but you may have a different view, right? So, I'm looking for your different view and get an audience your take on it.
Well, with healthcare and IT, IT is involved in everything, and in healthcare IT, there's a big IT uh, backbone in there. Um, when at DEF CON, we had a village where IT health hack village. A lot of the things that you have from dispensing drugs to pacemakers, etc., there's always IT security involved in it, and it's really needed, especially healthcare, because um, any type of updates goes through a different agency. It's not like you can just download an update for a pacemaker. It has to go through FDA, et cetera. And it's a whole big pain in the ass. So yeah, there's if you're in healthcare, you want to get in IT, don't think that, oh, I got to start over. No, a lot of things that you have and a lot of knowledge that you bring from healthcare will directly relate to IT if you plan on going to the healthcare IT division. Now, before you actually go into IT, you have to ask yourself one question: do you really want to do it? What is your mission? Because a lot of times people say, "I want to go into IT because I hear they make a lot of money." Don't do it for that. Prostitutes make a lot of money. You wouldn't want to do that either.
Did you say prostitutes make a lot of money?
Yeah, I've been thinking. I'm not going to say. I'm not throwing any shade to anybody, but hey, I know I've, I've donated to the dancing arts sometimes.
They're not prostitutes. They're doing
Yeah.
digital
Oh, yeah.
forensics. They're doing
All right. Just go to my fans only site, okay?
they're doing digital forensics. Okay,
Yeah.
you can't. They work with to catch a predator. Okay, you
Yeah.
got to. You,
It says, if you see the one that you know, just turn off that camera real quick. So, yeah. Uh, but yeah, like a lot, make sure you want to do it, because if you're only doing it for the money, it doesn't matter. There's two things in life: fun and money. If you're not having fun, the money doesn't matter. So if you're trying to go into it because you think there's a lot of money in it and you don't really like doing your job, you're going to hate it. You're going to quit anytime soon. You're not going to be able to get the most out of the company itself. Now, if you're new and you want to see if you like it, find one of these free classes. Find a Udemy class. Find a Udacity class. One of these free IT class. Um, CompTIA has a Network Plus class, or one of these Plus training classes. Find a Udemy class that go over that. Um, See if you actually like that. If you find an interest in it, then okay, proceed to the next level. Look at going to like maybe community college or online university, etc. Get some of those. I don't want you to invest a lot of money. I know if you're at home alone, you see these commercials like, oh, look, there's Bow Wow. He has a college now. He can get you a cyber degree in 6 months. Don't do that. Don't fall for those info commercials. Start off cheap, start off small. See if you take one of these free courses and you like it, set levels for you. Say, okay, I took this class, I like it. Okay, I'll take another class, but I'm going to say I'm going to complete it within 3 months and get a certification. Start taking those classes. And if you really find interest in it, go to a community college or online university, take some of those classes, and then from there move up and up. Um, Take said interesting about certifications, and I always get this a lot. Which is best, a certification or a college degree? Um, it all depends what you want to do. Um, Certifications will get you in the door. I mean, certification will get you in the door. A college degree may help you move up a little bit more. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with either way that you look, but if you get all the Linux certification, Python certification, etc., you will get hired. A company will hire you. Now, later on, when you want to move up to like these upper C level positions, etc., they may ask that you have those a degree or some other type of diploma, etc. Because um, with those degrees, you're learning additional skills that you may not pick up in a certification, such as technical writing, public speaking, marketing, and those are skills that those C-level executives actually need to do. Whenever you're at a higher up, you need to know about marketing. You're marketing a product or solution. How do you actually convince someone to buy your solution? Technical writing. A lot of certification classes don't offer technical writing classes, but you need that type of these type of courses, public speaking, etc. So it's up to you. But like I say, if you're new, take the certification class. You like it, go to community college, take some of those, get a job. Um, if you are looking to move up, and you say, I want to go for masters or doctorates, fine. Check to see if your company will pay for it. If they will, use them, use their money. I'm cheap. I try not to use my money if I don't have to. I said B, black and broke. I try to use everyone else's money. So if my company has a uh, school reimbursement program, I'll use that instead of just saying I'm going to pay for myself. Use them. It's the benefit they're offering. Use it, and then move up in the world like that. So, like I say, and it also depends on what you want to do. Some people I know do not want to get in that management position. They don't want to have to deal with people. I understand that. They just
Hmm.
want to be technical. That's fine. There's a lot of different training courses you can take from. Once you take those basic courses, start looking to spend invest in yourself. The money that you spend, like I said, SANS is a great organization. If anyone who's taking a SANS course will tell you that you will learn a lot in those 5 days. They will shove as much information as they can through your ears
Down your
as you can
throat.
bear. Oh yeah, you will leave tired but very knowledgeable. But once again, it is expensive. So invest yeah, is it a waste of money to take a sailing class? No, that's an investment in yourself. And if you really want to learn more about that, invest in yourself. People will invest in cars, shoes, PlayStations, jewelry, but they won't invest in themselves. So if you really want to do that, you want to become the master or SME in that particular field, invest in yourself and it will pay off in the end.
Gotcha. Now another question I get is, hey, I'm in tech already. I'm doing web development, or I am a back end engineer and I don't want to do that anymore. I want to transition into tech. What would what how would you give how would you how would you tell someone to make a pivot from, that I say DevSecOps for someone like that, but
Mhm.
maybe you have another idea.
Yeah, it's up to you, or it depends what role you want to do. Like I said, find out what is IT is like. Tech is like a tree, and a tree has many roots. And those roots are all the different branches of IT. You can go into programming, you can go into design, you can go into analysis, etc. So find which route you want to take and figure out if that's the path you want to go to. So like the DevSecOps is a great one. Um, maybe forensics, maybe something else, but find out which one you want to do first, and then make sure you do the training for it. If you're currently working in that, you may have a hard time transitioning. You may have to do something like go to a different company because it's a fact of nature. A company wants you to be their slave. Nah, probably not a good choice of words.
It's fine. It's
Yeah,
all good.
yeah,
It's
but
all good. It's
they
all
want you.
good.
Yeah, they want you to be theirs. They want you to do what they want you to do. So when you tell them that, hey, boss, I want to work on something else for a different group, they're gonna say no. They're gonna say either no or hell no. So after you've done your training, you may hit a point where you may have to leave that company. So if you're willing to do that, then fine, just go ahead and do that. But some people say, you know what, I've been here for 12 years. I love the people I work with. I don't want to transition out. So I'm just gonna not do it. That's fine also. But if you really are looking to do a transition to a different company, take the education, do the training yourself. You may have to do it yourself, but also keep in mind that you may have to leave that company if they don't allow you, if there's no other positions that allow you to do that, or if they just don't allow you to transfer out. So,
Right. And we do have on stage Professor Black Ops.
hey,
Uh, he's on the DoD side as well too. I think you guys probably get along very, very well. I do have a welcome to the stage. I do have another question for you, Derek. So my question is this: we see where China uh, got shut down. We see where pipelines have been hacked. We see the outages at Facebook. We see all the hacks, right? Every week, every day, somebody is hacked. Somebody's information is leaked. Now, when it comes to that, you know, what what would be your take from a person working at that company, at that particular company, and that cybersecurity hack happened? What is your take on their team? Like, how would you approach trying to solve that? Because usually most people go out and get a different team to come in to do forensics on that. But suppose they're like you say, they broke. Well,
Uh,
how would you go about try just the first attempt, maybe a three bullet attempt to try to solve a situation like that? What would be your approach as a manager or as an engineer? You could take either one.
well, before the attack happens, you gotta remember there's really nothing you can really do. Large companies from the federal government all the way down to the mom and pop grocery store can get hacked if the person. It all depends how valuable is the data that you have in there. There's a theory called the hunter dilemma, where you and two other
Did you
friends are
say did you say the hunky dilemma or what'd
no,
you
no,
say?
hunter's dilemma. You try to get me fired, man. I don't know.
I was trying to say what did you say?
I knew. Yeah, I ain't got not gonna do no John Gruden on me.
No,
So no.
it ain't gonna be that. I was
Uh,
trying to figure out what you
uh, and in this scenario, you and two other friends are out in the woods hunting. Then all of a sudden,
said.
a 7 foot large black bear that weighs 350 pounds jumps out in front of you. Um, you have a backpack with 25 pounds. Your other two friends have a backpack weighing 35 pounds. Um, how do you how fast you have to run to beat that black bear to get away from that black bear? And a lot of times people think, okay, I need to calculate how fast does a black bear run. He's this tall. He weighs this much. I'm carrying a backpack, etc. No, no. You don't have to run faster than the bear. You have to run faster than your other two friends. That's it. So if you're in a particular industry, let's say you're in finance, how much security do I need? You need to be just as even more secure than your other companies in that same industry. So if you're Bank of America, you need to make sure that your security is better than Citigroup or anyone else, because a hacker will go is like water. They'll find the path of least resistance. They'll find which organization has the weakest level of security. That's what they're going to actually shoot for. So um, if you are hacked or breached, what is your legal responsibility? I'm always going to tell you to do that first. Uh, did you actually do your due diligence and make sure that you did as much as you can to lock down your information? Notify your customers about the breach. Some states require you to do that within a certain number of hours. So make sure you comply with all those laws. Now, from a ICE perspective, you need to first lock down your system. Make sure that nothing goes in or out because you don't want anyone to uh, go in there and erase anything. Next, you want to do a scan of your system, try to determine exactly where the breach occurred and how did it occur. A lot of times, I would see containers that became open that people didn't harden, and they'll access those that way. A lot of big companies that absorb a lot of smaller companies. Oh, we merged with so and so. We merged with so and so. They did a lot of mergers, but guess what? This small mom and pop company now connected to your humongous company now. Guess what? The small mom and pop company did not have the money to actually invest in security, but guess what? They have all the same access to your network that any of the large companies do. So, yeah, find out where the breach happened, lock it down, and then work backward from there. Try to figure out exactly what happened and how to actually prevent it from happening again, and determine what exactly was breached. Was there a new ID that was created? Did they put something in? Did they take something out? Did they modify something? And work from there.
Got you. Good answer. What's going on, Mr. Professor Black Ops? What you got for us tonight?
No
I
ops.
had a quick question for him. Can you hear me? I'm dragging
Yep.
tonight.
Yep.
What's your take on CMC replacing this? Everybody's going to the new CMC kind of replacing this. Kind of, you can chime in on that too, Mika. So what's your thoughts on that? You can always pass if you don't have any thoughts on it. But I
Yeah.
just
Well, I can only say that a lot of the folks who've submitted bids for us, they're still going by NIST recommendations. Um, from the DoD to Homeland Security to HSS, they're still complying with NIST recommendation because
right.
it's been around a lot longer and more people have already designed for it. And there's still most of the tools you have out there will do scans for NIST compliance. So yeah, it maybe as more people become familiar with the new standards, they may switch over to that. But right now, I don't really see anyone saying no. I forget NIST. Let's go to CMC or whatever. Or
Because I'm like you, I've been doing this for 20 years, so I'm like an old dog. I'm like, man, I gotta try to figure out what the CMCs do.
It's time to retire. So yeah, no one's gonna. And this is it's like with news, especially with the federal government. The federal government does not want to do anything new if it doesn't have to, unless they have to, unless they're forced to. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. That's why NASA, you still maybe have a 486 that are still running somewhere,
Oh, yeah.
because if it works, I think they're still using COBOL and a lot of research over there. So you're not going to find that many governmental or agencies to do it, because a lot of the places are mission critical, and they can't really handle any type of breaches or anything that goes wrong. They want whatever's been working with them for the past decade or two. They'll use those same standards or recommendations.
And it's a lot of in that case, it's also a lot of information that's in with one person, right? And so that trying to get it out of their head, yeah, good luck, right?
Yeah.
Get that written down. As far as my take on that, it's still a process, right? It's still they're still trying to iron out the kinks. They're trying to push it. They're trying to be agile.
True. Yeah.
But
I'm just trying to figure out how long I got to take before I need a master's. So I've been slowly trying to study it, and
I mean,
I've just done this so
I would
long.
study it just to have the knowledge, but I taking off right now. I think it's going to be agency dependent.
True.
I think that's going to be agency dependent. And those that don't know what we're talking about, you want to explain what the CMMC is?
No, I asked. I'm still doing this. I don't want to explain it. you can go forward. I'm still learning it. I'm gonna turn that back on you, Tamika. I'm gonna let you have that. I want none of CMC tonight. No CMC for me tonight.
All right. So let me go look it up, because I haven't played with CMMC.
I just started.
Cybersecurity. Yeah, the cybersecurity mature model, and it comes in different levels from what I'm seeing here, levels 1 through 5. But I'm not sure. Like, I know there's a need for all contractors to get CMMC certified. But what does that all actually mean for each contractor? What does it mean for the data? What does it mean for the compliance? Like, the laptop that you have, the type of virus scan that you have on that laptop, how data is stored, where it's stored at, who has access, who's your cyber person, are you doing cyber reviews, phishing scams that may come up, hey, your CEO got hacked, now what? Like things. I know there's a report out right now that came out this week, that any contractor that gets hacked, they need to let them know immediately. Before, it was kind of like, I got hacked, you didn't have to report it.
Right.
Now, as you got hacked, it needs to be reported. So what does that look like? So to me, it sounds like another job that somebody's gonna have to do. Or they're gonna have to hire some people to say, okay, well, these people got hacked. Here's what they didn't have in place. Here's what you need to get in place. And it sounds like what you're doing right now, Derrick. This is like data processing, forensics for small contractors, right?
Yeah.
And making sure that they adhere to those standards. But let's even take it one step further. What does it mean for not the small contractor, but what about the individual freelancer, right? What does that look like for someone that's coming in, that's doing some work? Like,
See, but the funny thing is, he mentioned it because where I work at, we do IRS Pub 1075, and most people never heard of that. So they have that. That was what they put on top of this. Like, if our medium contractor sees anything that looks funny in 48 hours, they have to let us know. Not if they've been hacked. If they see something in 48 hours, they got to let us know so we can start doing our research. So that's the kind of the IRS level they put on top of that. So I've been doing that for 10 years already.
okay.
I think the problem that I see is like you said, a lot of small. If you're a large company, meeting some of these standards you shouldn't have too much of a problem. If you're a small mom and pop company, it makes it difficult for them to actually do a lot of bids, and a lot of times they'll have
Nice.
to either work with a larger company and lose a percentage of money because
Nice.
if you're a 3 woman or 3 man shop, you're not going to be able to meet some of these standards or
You,
buy all the necessary things to meet those standards.
you would never do work because I'm like, you worked at DoD, you will never make that big because
Mhm.
you don't have the infrastructure. Because I mean, if you're talking this, even a small setup's going to be about 3 to 4 thousand checks.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking at Linux getting ready for Tamika. There was 325 checks on Red Hat just alone. She thinks she's gonna embarrass me when I come on for do this Red Hat challenge. So I've been practicing. She ain't gonna embarrass Professor Black Ops on YouTube. So I've been practicing now. But it was like 325 checks on Linux because I'm a STIG guy. Shout out to Tamika.
Ah,
She be talking my love language when I be swooning when she be going through the STIGs. I'm gonna have to take her to dinner or something. But,
Nothing
oh,
wrong with that, and nothing wrong with that.
so
You got
he
to.
started look Derek smiling when I said
yeah.
Stigs. He know about that life, that Stig life.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
different level.
That is all. And Stigs are unique. I've had a couple of people, companies that yeah, we need to comply with Stig,
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
Um, Stigs are great if you use it for a government, but my problem is a lot of people who work for the military, retire from the military, and work for a commercial company want to implement anything
They
based
don't
on
care.
Stig. I'm like, it don't work
No,
that way.
don't talk negative. I'm doing that right now, Derek. I'm doing it
Oh
where I work
man, yeah.
Yeah, they
I do the
don't.
Oh,
Stigs. I do the
They don't
Stigs.
care nothing about that.
But
yeah.
but 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 I'm gonna throw this out to everybody, especially when you get a new company, they don't know what the security is. You
Yeah.
have to agree. The STIGs are super prescriptive. It's gonna tell you in this GPO, click this button right here and do this for the check.
Well,
You don't
and
have to. You don't have to guess. You don't have to figure it out. Just click the button. It's gonna tell you what to do.
yeah, but if you look at CIS baseline, CIS
Mhm.
base, I like them for if you're in commercial because with a STIG, you're meeting all the requirements of the federal government. But if you're doing business, if you set up a military base or doing business with the federal government, great. But if you're doing business with, let's say, a company that's in Europe, the STIG requirements mean nothing to them. They want their requirements to meet their level.
Yeah,
CIS is a little bit freer, and CIS has
I
different
agree.
levels: level 1, level 2. And like I say, if you're working with the federal government, or working in the military, STIGs compliance, great. But if you're in the commercial world, CIS base, I like CIS baselines.
No,
Um,
I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit. You are correct, but I work for a big company and people trying to do business with us. When you do business with us, I'm gonna tell you what I want you to do. So I got the big camera, so because I work
yeah,
for a big state agency. So if you want to
uh-huh.
do business with us, we saying here's your spreadsheet with the STIGs on it. Get your
Read it
Nexus
off.
scanner out. If you want to do business with us, fine. If you
Oh yeah,
don't, that's your choice.
yeah. And like I said, if you do business with any governmental or military agency, you're gonna have to meet STIGs. You're not, there's no getting around it. Um,
But the
yeah.
funny thing though, if you after you do Stigs a couple times, both of y'all know everything else seems easy. When I go to
Oh
the
yeah.
CIS, I feel like I'm cheating. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this is so small. This is so tiny. This is
Yeah.
Right.
kind of weird. Then when I do PCI for credit cards, I just start crying. I'll be like, we ain't doing no security with PCI. We just playing.
Yeah.
We just giving the data
Yeah.
away. We not
Right.
doing
Yeah.
nothing.
A lot of times people think, oh, I meet this baseline requirement. Like, okay, this is a baseline.
Right.
This is the minimum. That doesn't mean you're completely safe. So a lot of times people get this is a paper sword. You
Facts.
know, if you meet these requirements, that doesn't mean you can't be hacked or breached. That just means
Oh,
that you
facts.
meet a minimum level. So
Right.
yeah, convince people to go above that is the hard part.
Oh, they
Right.
never do. That's why I start with the skid steers because they ain't gonna never. Most people don't have the stomach to go above. It's hard to
Right.
get people. I
And the
seriously, I was
money.
in a conversation with $1 billion company, and they said the Stigs was too much security. I'm like, you're $1 billion company. What are you talking about? I mean, y'all got 400 IT people, but we had to drag them, making them do it. And
Oh yeah.
for me, to be honest, I was just appalled. I was like, we
Oh
suck
yeah.
as an
Just
industry.
appalled. How
I was
dare they?
appalled. Yeah, I dare y'all, man.
Yeah.
So
I
Well,
we
like I
do
was.
said,
we do have a question. It says not all cybersecurity jobs require clearances, which is true.
Facts.
But I've been looking at ISO,
Okay.
ISSO. We just say
Yeah.
ISO for short, by the way,
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody. And
Yeah.
cybersecurity analyst. And it seems a lot of those require a clearance. So I'm gonna say yes and no to that. Yes, if you're looking like for cyber security analysts on like a clearance job or Indeed, but this is why we do tech stocks and jobs on Saturday. If you look at a lot of these startups, they're not requiring clearances and they're looking for cybersecurity analysts, primarily cyber security engineers. They're not necessarily looking for ISOs. They're looking for someone to lead a cybersecurity team, and they're also looking for people to who can help implement cloud security. So that's on the startup side. The startup side, and they're not looking at ISOs. They're looking to make money.
Facts.
They're looking to make money. Your
Facts.
more established companies are probably looking at ISOs, your Accentures, your GDITs, your bigger name companies, your L3 Harris, maybe even a Tesla, because they're a little bit more established now. But the startups, they're not looking for uh the the ISO or the ISSM, or maybe not even the cybersecurity analysts, because they're in startup phase. They're like, we need somebody that understands these compliance rules and can implement them in AWS and automate them inside Terraform or Cloud Formation or Ansible or Puppet or Chef or Inspect. That's primarily what they're looking for. And if you all want to rebuttal that or give your thoughts on that, please feel free.
You want me? I'll go, and I agree with you. I can't rebuttal the queen with the nice earrings. Come on, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna add on to what you're saying. She's correct. I'm in a federal space, so when you're in a federal space, that's where your security clearance come in. I actually work for a big insurance company, and I was a programmer. When you buy the money, they're gonna do a background check. Anything you do that's touching money, buy money, they're gonna do a background check. I do federal compliance, big stuff. They're gonna do an FBI background check with a big clearance, right? So the closer you are to government and federal, and she's right. I did some work in Silicon Valley. They don't care about security; they care about features, so they can get angel investing. And once they get that angel money, they start getting customers, and they have compliance checks. Then they want to bring you on after the fact. Now you got to try to bolt it on, get it into their agile stuff. So they don't care about security until they make money, because angel investors, they care about features.
They care about ROI.
Right. That's where the features come from, though, right? This is what makes the money. This is the ROI. Because most people think now I can see. Most people think of security as a expense. You're not. Most security think people are in a profit center. We spend money to protect.
Yeah, it's just like Derrick said earlier. If it gave you $400 million on cybersecurity, you couldn't see it. But if I gave you $400 million on to buy something else and make that feature come true, you can see that, right? It's cybersecurity, DevSecOps are thankless jobs. I'm gonna tell you that now. No one cares about your feelings. They just want you to get it deployed and secured when you do it. I'm just being honest.
No, you said it. Don't nobody care about you till you get hacked. Then everybody looking at you like, what happened? It's like, I didn't have no money, man.
Right. But the flip side of that, the jobs pay well where you can eat. And take care of your family. That's just the bottom line of it. So, pay me with the green or the Bitcoin or the Cardona or whatever chip is out, whatever chip or NFT is out there that's hot, pay me that way, right?
That's my only disagreement with Derrick. He was like, do it for the fun. I'm fat. I do it to eat. So I disagree with Derrick on that one. Everything else, I think we're gonna line up on. We're gonna have a great conversation. But I'm fat. I like to eat, and Tamika got me thinking some of that accreditation money now. So my thought patterns changing in my old age.
You wait till tomorrow. We're gonna talk a lot about that. We got an investor coming on
at 11 o'clock. I'll be struggling.
2 o'clock. That's 2 o'clock show.
Man, y'all be doing too much. Go ahead, Derrick. I'm gonna give you the floor. I've been talking too much.
No, so we got the question is, how likely is it that a company will sponsor you if you're new to tech? And I'm assuming that you're talking about a clearance when you say sponsor.
I'm thinking H-1B when he says sponsor. I could be wrong.
Well, I think you're talking about clearance. So there's two things when you're talking about a clearance. Some companies will sponsor you. The companies that I know that are like friendly sponsored companies are your GDITs, um, the Raytheons of the world, and SAIC. They're usually sponsor friendly. And when I say sponsor friendly, meaning like, hey, we got this little new project, we got to hire this many people. They'll be like, you're fresh out of college, or you got this experience. Hey, we'll sponsor you, or you had a clearance before, we'll sponsor you. Um, is the process long? It is. It is. It is clearance dependent.
Super long.
It is clearance dependent.
Yeah. So
When
been
you
rushed.
when you want to do it. I'll say this, and this is from experience speaking. When you get a clearance, it is a lifestyle change, right? It's a lifestyle change. That in a sense of, like when you're talking about, hey, I want to drop down and go to Cuba. Well, Cuba may be on the no go list. You can't just go to Cuba, right?
Facts.
The people that you hang around, hung around before, you might not can hang around them no more, right? It's
Yeah.
just what it
Facts.
is. Of just being honest. Like some
Mm.
people, don't care, and they fancy and free. But I'm just saying, like, from a woman who's been out there. Like one of my, I ain't gonna even lie to you. Dia tell you all the time. I was like, so are you a convicted felon? And if
Facts.
somebody say, yeah, I'm like, we can't date. Well, because I'm trying to get
Facts.
married. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Shout out to
Due to
Tamika.
due to my nature, due to the nature of my
Yeah.
job,
Facts.
Yeah.
I
It,
can't, I
the
can't, I can't rock with you
We're gonna have to get
yeah.
Tamika a high value man.
Yeah.
Kevin
with
Samuelson,
I
no
y'all.
know, Kevin.
background in college in the
Yeah.
college.
You cutting a
Yeah.
lot of people out, Tamika. You cutting a lot of people out.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah. It's weird because right now, um, you'll probably get less. You get more trouble by the people you hang out with than drugs. So if you pass a bad P test in some companies, I don't even get tested anymore in some of the companies I apply for.
Right.
But if they find out that I've been hanging around with, oh, you hung around this member of the Communist Party, I will likely get fired for that instead of, oh, you had weed in your pee or something like that. So yeah,
Right.
so the higher you move up, you have to be careful around who you associate yourself with, or like
Mhm.
somebody can say, some of the places that you visit. I have a tendency to visit stupid places, like Cuba and Russia. So yeah,
Oh no, I ain't doing
so
that.
mess up my.
No.
You have to be very careful about the clearance. And some people decide they don't want to do it because with that top secret security clearance, it restricts your life a lot, and you have to ask yourself, do you want to do
Yeah,
that? Because you have to report every place you go, also
you
every
do.
couple of years whenever you renew that stuff. So
Yeah. It,
I'm,
it was every 7. Now I think it's every 5.
yeah,
And
I just had a secret, so it's not quite as restricted. But when I got hired, I had great Oracle skills. Uh, they sponsor, I think it was what, SSBI, whatever that one was,
single scope.
SSBI.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
FSBI.
so what they did is, which is normal, is like it's gonna cost us 30,000. So you got to commit for us for 2 years, or you got to give us our money back, right? Which was wouldn't what for me wasn't a big commitment because I was working with Lockheed Martin. So for me, it was I was in my 30s, so I wanted to be there 3 or 4 years so I could learn. So for me, it wasn't a big commitment. The secret wasn't too bad. They didn't really get on
Yeah,
my
secret's
friends
not
too
bad.
much. Yeah, they
When you
didn't too
start
much.
getting into full scope, CI Poly,
Yeah,
Yankee
right.
White,
Right, right. And I
you
work, yeah, I worked in
change your
DFIs,
life.
DOD, finance, and they're not as rigorous for that agency, so it
Yeah,
wasn't too hard. So, and two is if you're young, I would try to go with one of the big companies because they trying to do bodies, PwC, Accenture. They want junior people so they can
Deloitte.
bill you out at $300 and use you up.
Mm.
So I would
well,
do that.
not
That would help you get your
not
background
only
check.
that, it's easier if you're young to get a clearance because you don't
Oh,
have
facts,
you haven't
facts.
Exactly.
moved a lot of places. You ain't
Oh,
got to write
fact,
all that stuff up, and
right.
you haven't really had a lot of culture unless you live with your parents and your parents was military and y'all moved all the time. But even
Facts.
still, no, if you're 21 and they go back 10 years, you was 11 years old,
No, that's true.
unless
No,
you
that's
was
100%.
setting cars on fire
No,
or
that's true.
something like that, like you're okay. So the other flip side to that is, and I'm just gonna be honest, and a lot of people may not agree with it. You can eat off of it forever, right? And that's
Just a
why I
security
say,
clearance.
yeah, that's why I
Oh,
say, if you're gonna go the route, and this is why I always talk about get your Linux cert, or at least get some experience with Linux, right? It's a baseline that's gonna be around forever. It's not like Linux is going anywhere. They thought COBOL was gonna die. We saw that didn't go anywhere,
no,
right? It's just one of those skill sets that's just a baseline for you to
that's right.
have, and you can take that with you along with the clearance. Now, some people don't like that intrusion. They want to get away from it, right? They don't want to have somebody telling them where they can go, or what they can do or whatnot. But if the federal government comes out and says can't nobody from the United States go to Cuba, that means nobody,
Facts.
right? So
Facts.
you're just not going anyway. So what's the point, right? No fly to China. We're not.
Yeah.
In fact, we don't even have flights.
Right.
So it's just one of them things. You have to weigh the good with the bad. Now here's the other part of that. Does it keep you honest? Absolutely. Do you keep your credit up? Absolutely.
Facts.
Do you
Facts.
do you start looking at what other people that you encounter as far as dating life goes and their credit? Do you look at them? Absolutely. You're like, absolutely. So there are levels to it where you're like, okay, this person is not doing X, Y, and Z, and I got to introduce them into my world, because you got to, if you start living together and y'all get married, they gonna interview them. It's just what it
Yeah,
is.
no, that's true. I guess I never think about that from a dude standpoint. I'm divorced. I ain't never getting married again. So it never crossed
That's
my
famous
mind.
last words ever.
I ain't never getting married. I ain't never getting married. But no, those are excellent points. Like you said, I guess because I've been always kind of square, so my credit's always been decent. I don't travel like y'all. I'm trying to go to Vegas, the Grand Canyon, see my aunt in Ohio and back. I'm not my man talking about going to Cuba and China. Nah, man, I ain't leaving the United States, man. I'm scared they're not gonna let me back in. I'm not going nowhere. So I just never. So for me, I just never thought about it like that. And like I said, I was married, so our credit was good. I make sure it was good. So I just that stuff never crossed my mind until you brought up to me, because I was like, yeah, you got to be careful because it's a lot
Yep.
of hobosexuals out there. I think that's the new term. They're gonna
A
just move in with you.
homosexual. I
Yeah,
know nothing about them.
the hobosexual. I gotta make sure I put the
Just
B in there.
Yes,
yeah, I don't know nothing
Hobosexual.
about them.
Where D at?
add a
D got to keep
selective
an eye on
period
me. I
there.
need D to watch me. I need D to
D
watch
is in
me.
the background.
Yeah, I need D to
So
watch me. But people trying to move in with you, you can't kick them out and all kind of weird stuff.
nah,
So
we good on that.
yeah,
Water's
I'm
light.
old. That's a new person thing. That's a young person game. I don't know nothing about that. I'm in my 50s. I don't know nothing
So
about that.
so Derek, on this which brings up a question that somebody had, right? That the ISSO. So um I go to school, I got my cybersecurity degree, maybe in information assurance. I haven't pen tested before, but I see this ISSO and this ISSM, and I see cybersecurity engineer or security engineer. What would you recommend that person do? Would you recommend that person who has that master's degree to go after to get their CISSP, or would you recommend that they go get some technical chops in order to move into that security engineer role? Like,
Yeah.
what would be your take? What's the outlook on that?
Okay. This has always been the big discussion between me and Tamika regarding CSSP versus hands-on. Uh, Full disclosure,
Or-
I'm the president of our Tampa Bay chapter of IC Square, so we push the whole CSSP. Now, is this? Do I like this certification? Yes, I think it's a great certification. Do I think everyone should have it? No, I don't. Um, and even IC Square doesn't think that. IC Square has a requirement where it requires you to have at least 5 to 7 years of experience in that role. And they do that because they don't want a whole bunch of people walking around with CSSPs but not knowing one damn thing of how to actually use their background or skills in there. And with a lot of certification, there are no restrictions. Anyone can get a blah 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 certification, etc. IC Square says no, you should have at least 5 7 years. So before you even think about a CSSP like that, if you don't have experience, don't even apply. There's a CASP, which is like a junior version of that. If you don't have experience, so now you have your master's degree. What I recommend: get hands-on experience. Get a couple more years of experience in that position, that field that you want, and then go for the CSSP or whatever certification. Because, like I said, IC Square doesn't want members with no experience to even have their certification because it just makes the certification look weak. Back in the old day, I took a lot of Microsoft certification. Didn't touch the program at all. A day of my life, I knew how to read a book and pass a test. Did it help? No, but I knew that I could actually pass those certification tests. IC Square said, we don't want that. We want you to have. We want members to actually be knowledgeable. So if they learn stuff, if they learn stuff from certification tests, they should be able to actually implement that into their industry. So if you learn about encryption, you should know about how to set encryption in your GPO or whatever. You should say, "Oh, I know about encryption," and then point to someone else to actually do it for you. No, that's what they don't want. They want someone with actual skills. So yeah, after you finish your master's degree, get the hands-on experience, and then go for how to higher certifications.
That's my whole job. Derrick hurt my feelings, Tamika. That's my whole job.
Music to my ears.
That hurt my feelings.
We meant to make agree on a lot.
No, that's true. I do auditing work. So as I audit stuff, I tell people, which that's not FIPS 140-2 certified. So I point at them, implement it correctly. So but, I've done them in GPOs, but I don't do it as much.
Yeah, you have the that's just beyond your pay grade. So that's
facts.
Yeah, you just don't want. Yeah, you could do it if they want to pay you for it, but hey, if they trying to get off on the cheap, then yeah, I'll point you to that.
Because from my background, like you said, part of it, which is cool, is since we report to the IRS, Booz Allen comes on site every 3 years and does an on-site audit. So I work with our compliance managers. They're going to grade you on all of that.
Yeah. So yeah, I did compliance auditing for PwC for all of our stocks, Sarbanes-Oxley, ISO 9000, ISO 1000, all those fun for audits, and yeah, they're not fun, but yeah, and like I kind of agree with you. I say, okay, this isn't set, and I would point someone else to fix it. But yeah, it's auditing is.
Yeah, I got that behind me.
There we go. That's CDK.
This is the CISSC
Yes,
book.
see?
I got one
from ISC. Here is the other book that goes along with it. You see that?
They're big too.
From 10 domains to 12 domains.
I saw that. I need to get the new book. Right. I got the old book.
So the question is, when do you study this? And this is why I always talk about community. You got to study with somebody.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have to study in a group, right?
I never do, but I'm kind of weird.
Yeah. That's fine. But I think it's easier, like learning how to, how to take notes, how to write how to write things out, how to study. I think it's a good idea every now and again just to brush up on how to study. Because when you're taking these classes and like the SANS.org class, the cloud security class I took, it was from 9 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night for 5 days straight.
I'm too old for that boot camp game. I'm too old for that boot camp game.
And it's you get a break, but the labs may be 45 minutes to an hour long. Mess up typing something and down the rabbit hole, right?
This gonna sound a little bit. I always pair up with somebody who can type, so we study together. I'll be typing like that anymore.
Right, and somebody had a question. Fred had a question. When you're starting out, what is the best course to take to get some meaty I guess real hands on experience. I think that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I guess it all depends on what you're doing. Because like with pen testing, you can sign up for different groups like Hack the Box,
Mhm.
or if you're doing reverse engineering or bug bounties, you have Hacker One,
Mhm.
and they have different sandbox you can play around with and hands-on training classes. But yeah, that's the best thing to do. Yeah, I don't I don't do that until death by PowerPoint. You need to actually get your hands on the keyboard, and once
Facts.
you learn about those things, get into those, and they're free. Actually, most of those are free. Those will give you a great hands-on experience that you'll learn a lot from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there. Start with Linux and then move into Kali Linux, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
and,
and
and
and and the only reason why I say that is because, like, if to me, I think Linux gives you that. What is secure at the OS level? How do I secure a container?
Mhm.
So that
Mhm.
takes care of, your bare metal. That takes care of your
Mhm.
cloud, and that take care of your
Mhm.
containers. Now, when we start getting into the different teams, we could talk about that, because now we got a red team,
Mhm.
we got a blue team.
I'm
I
blue
think they
team.
changed the name to from White Hacker to Black,
yeah,
White Hacker
Yeah.
and Black Hacker. I think those have changed. So offense and defense.
Mhm.
And so when you're looking at cybersecurity, I like to tell people, like, hey, let's baseline first, and then
Mhm.
say what are you really interested in? Are you
Mhm.
trying to pen test and hack and get something? Or are you actually trying to protect something, right? And so you have to look at it from different ways, right? And the
Facts.
other thing to look at too is, don't be afraid to dip your toe in every last one of those things. Go
Facts.
see if you even like it. You may not even
Facts.
like none of those things, and may
Right.
find out that you just want to do cybersecurity vlogging, and you just want to talk about the new
No.
hacks that came out and what
No.
what occurred, and that's it.
Mhm.
And that's all you want to do. You really don't want to do any of that. You just want to report on it, right? So it's
Mhm.
just different angles when you're talking about cybersecurity. And I think when people think cybersecurity, they think hacking, but
Facts.
it's not just hacking. There's also cloud security, there's container security, there is
Awesome.
physical security, there's actually security for the car, security for your
Mhm.
boats,
Mhm.
net security for your house.
Facts.
Just security is everywhere, but you got to think
Mhm.
about, like, what really interests you in that. And if you don't know, go dip your toe in it. That's what I would do.
No, that's true. I'm old school, so I came up as a programmer. So when you come up as programmer, like D said, you start touching stuff. Because when I wrote the program, then I was like, oh, I want to put it on a Tomcat, and I want to put it on Linux. So you start learning those skills, and they start stacking on it. Then you start connecting to the database. So basically, you're purple teaming it, right? Because you're trying to lock down the application. So that's one way of getting it. That's how I brought my chops in. I programmed for 15 years before I got in security. So when people talk about getting certs and coming in, sometimes I get a little jealous, man. I tell people I had to get it out the digital mud, man. I put some work in my game. So,
And
like you said, it's a ton of ways to do it. And what I'm thinking is kind of what Derek is. You can come in GRC. Let's start you off with policies and procedures and getting your compliance up, and you can learn security because you go on a D asking her questions. How did you set up the PAM? How did you set up your keys? How did you set up your container? Then you can give Tamika the stick checks and let her do them and give you the results back. So then you can learn by what she did by reading those checks, right? So that's another way to get in that maybe is a little easier.
and Fred, you asked the question, what are my thoughts on Mint Linux distro? It doesn't pay any of my bills. That's my thoughts.
Facts, facts. Um, I shouldn't say
Well, let
it's
me say this. It is good if you want to explore different distros by grabbing an old box. And I don't say laptops. I try to stick to desktops when you're starting out, so you can understand, hey, how to boot up off a network drive, how to pixie boot, how to FTP, just all those different things, get your hands on that way. But then as you go on, you'll find that most companies, and the reason why I say it don't pay no bills, most companies are probably in Ubuntu or they're in Red Hat. So those are where the two that's where they're at, right? And so you can go learn Mint Linux and have it as your desktop, but when you go to work, nobody's using Mint Linux at work. They're not even deploying Mint Linux on their laptops for people to use at work. So
Facts.
it's great to learn it if you want to play with it. I just kind of stick with what the latest and greatest is on what these companies are doing and what they're trying to do with stuff. So it's like if you go look at, and I always tell people this, go look at the change log for any new Linux distribution or Windows distribution that's coming out, so you know what changed. Like, did they implement some new stuff? Did they do some cybersecurity scans? And we talked about this before with the NIST CVEs. Go look at those CVEs that come out every day. Everything got a vulnerability,
Every
right?
day.
Everything got a every day.
Every
So,
day.
so when you start looking at these vulnerabilities and looking at how to solve problems, start playing around with little hacks, get on bug bounty teams, those little things right there, you're gonna get your skills up from not just from a Linux perspective or a cybersecurity perspective, but a problem solving perspective. And I always tell you when you walk into a company, you want to be the solution. So be the solution. And how you sharpen those skills. This is how you sharpen those skills. Install Mint Linux. Then go back and do a dual boot with Mint Linux and then Windows, and then do a triple boot if you can with Mint, Ubuntu, and Windows. Right? Then blow it all away, and then just play around with it. But you gotta get really familiar with how the operating system works and how these things are interconnected together. Once you start learning what the kernel is and what device drivers are, going over into embedded Linux and start looking at IoT devices and stuff. So it's just a chain reaction on it. Uh, Derek, you had something back here. If a person would like to learn more about data privacy and different laws in different states, here's a website right here. Let me pull that up.
Right. Derek, I got a quick question for you. Tamika's working. I was talking to a guy, and I did some on it. Do you think privacy is the next big thing? Because the guy I talked to, he said, because Cali's going GDPR, a lot of state general attorneys are doing their own data privacy, and he works for a global company. You know, Europe got their own, Canada's got their own, Europeans got their own. He did some work in Ireland, so he said he believes that's going to be the next appliance because when you, like you brought up, when you got data moving through all those foreign countries, now you got to adhere to each one of those privacy laws. So you got to harmonize or level set. So one of my young guys said he thinks that's the next big bag because privacy, especially for global companies, is going to be the next big thing. Kind of what's your thoughts on that? And I'm sure Tamika got thoughts on everything, so she can go after Derek.
Well, yeah, I'll be biased, but yeah, I think that data privacy is going to be the big issue. As countries and like, as countries are cracking down on how data is shared, in Europe they had their big data privacy issue policy, and now they want to lock everything down. And in the U.S. is a little bit different because originally the U.S. said states' rights. States we don't need to worry about that. States can do what they want to. But California started theirs. Then all of a sudden, Maine wants theirs. Now Ohio. So what's going to make it a pain in the ass is like if you're a company, um, and if you say, okay, well, I won't sell anything to people in California. How are you going to stop them from going to your website? How are you going to do that? You're going to have to comply with those laws. So it doesn't matter if you're physically not in that state. If you have a website that allows someone from that particular state to actually work with you, you must comply with them. So right now, it seems like more and more states are trying to create their own data privacy laws, and that's going to become a big hassle. Hopefully, the federal government will step in and say, all right, squash all this. Here's the U.S. Data Privacy Protection Act. It's going to cover all states because if not, then you wouldn't want to have to be the person who have Booz Allen come into your office 50 times to say, all right, you need to see if you comply with Alabama state laws. You got to go with Georgia state laws, etc. But right now, countries are making it harder and harder. And like the biggest country, the hardest country right now is China. China has some of the most restrictive data privacy laws. Um, Even when you do cloud, um, they have, I think, I can't remember the certification level, but there's only a few cloud providers that reach it, and one is Alibaba. Alibaba Cloud is one of the only few ones. With China, what data you have there must stay in that country. You are not allowed to export it. So
Right.
even if you set up an AWS account over there, AWS has to set up a special zone just in China or in Shanghai because the data cannot leave. Other countries are starting to do the same thing, not as harsh as China, but you have Russia. And this is the site that I showed you guys, data privacy protection laws. Right here, you compare different countries. Like you want to say, what is U.S. compared to China? It will show you what are some of the laws you have to worry about, how it affects you, etc. But yeah, data privacy is going to be a big issue because right now a lot more people are being aware that okay, you can be hacked. It's not
Right.
uncommon for someone just go on the news and say, "Oh yeah, I've been hacked." What do you do? How come no one's there to protect me? And actually, right now with China, it's always changing. And with Xi Jinping in office, he's pushing a lot more crackdowns on how data is being handled. So it's very difficult to actually do business in certain countries. And if you don't meet those standards, the penalty alone, um, in Europe, if you don't comply with GDPR, I think it's like 10% gross of what you make each year.
Yes.
So yeah, it can be obscene amount. And what people don't realize, okay, well, little countries like parts of the Virgin Islands, they're still British colonies or whatever, and they
Mhm.
have to follow these same data privacy laws. So yeah, it's going to be a big hassle because
Mhm.
once again, you're implementing IT and the legal aspect, and
Right.
combine those two, um, difficult. But yeah, like I said, I'm a little biased, but yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
it's
but,
gonna be an interesting little thing
yeah,
coming up.
yeah, but NIST off the top, if you do business with DOD, you got to keep all your data in CONUS, right? If your
Yeah,
data leaves CONUS, you probably get sued by the United States. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's part
yeah,
of that too, right?
yeah, and it's difficult because, like, say, let's say you're with your company. I'm ABC Electric. I do business with the DoD, so I must comply with NIST, but also have sites that are open in different countries. Well, the EU has their own privacy laws that you must comply with. Brazil has their own privacy laws they must comply with. What if I'm in? I want to expand. Everyone wants to expand to China. China has their own data privacy law. With China owns all the data that is in that country. So if you have a client that does business there and China says we want to see that person's transactions, you have no choice but to do that. But if you go by U.S. Or European data laws, you're not allowed to do that. How do you actually rectify that? And a lot of companies you're starting to see they're backing out, like LinkedIn. Today they announced they're backing out of China because the data privacy laws and it's too restrictive. China needs to have access to everything that's posted on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn said no, we can't agree with that. So yeah, it's going to be, and it's going to hurt a lot of businesses. A lot of companies will say it's not worth it, or we don't want to give up certain rights to these countries because yeah, it's interesting to say the least. Yep. If you're on mute again, T.
I'm talking. So now all these privacy laws and so forth, all right, going up. What I hear is an ability to create your own company around this to ensure that people are meeting these standards and or at least know what the standards are,
Mhm.
right? So, what would be your take uh on creating a company around that?
Oh, I think that's a good idea. I have always wanted to do that, but I'm just lazy. I ain't motivated to do that. But you find that there's a lot of companies that need to comply with these laws. Like I said, in the Caribbean, a lot of Caribbean countries have to follow GDPR, the European standard. Um, they don't realize that, or a lot of the small they must comply. So yeah, there's a big niche market for compliance that for small businesses, medium and small businesses, they get the same penalty as a large AOL or Facebook. So they don't say, "Oh, you're a small company, we're not going to fine you." No, you can still get fined. And even in California, the California data privacy laws, you must comply with them. And if you're a small business, you don't. Most small businesses know what they do. I make clothing. I'm a good seamstress. I make good clothing. Oh, I don't know anything about data privacy or computers. They're going to need someone to come there and do that for them. So yeah, there's a big growing market for someone who can go in there and actually meet the needs for these small to medium-sized businesses to ensure that they comply with whatever data privacy laws they need to be aware of. Because you'll be surprised. So even in the clothing industry, you're going to do business with China, guaranteed, or Mexico, because you may outsource some of your work down there. But what are the data privacy laws you need to be aware of? And most places, like I said, if I make great hamburgers, I don't know anything about data privacy laws. I know about making I know about what I do, and that is where a small company or your company will come in and help them out.
Gotcha. So now, with that being said, is there any certifications that I need to get in order to do that?
Yeah, if you go out to IAPP, International Association of Privacy Practitioners, they have a couple of certifications, such as IAPP/E for Europe or /C for Canada. And those are certifications that say that you're aware of the different privacy laws that are in place. And they'll actually help. So if you're looking to know more about GDPR, get the one for Europe. And that particular certification will go over most of those data privacy laws for Europe. And there's one for Canada, there's one for the federal government, and they even have USIP. I can't remember the acronym, but there's one for tech also. But that's a company, if you're looking for data privacy, you want to go there. There's a lot of companies out there, but you go for the ones that are legitimate, the certification that are legitimate, and IAPP has the certification that are considered the standard bearers for
All
data
right.
privacy.
Now I'm
Oh,
on this.
CIPP.
I'm on the site. So
Yeah.
am I looking
Yeah.
at
Click on
CPP?
the CIPP.
Yeah, the
Click on
top
that for
one.
me.
Oh,
And then it'll
hold on,
go
I'm on
into
the wrong
different
screen.
branches. It goes into CIPP, E, Canada, etc.
Right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it breaks down there, and you'll see that. And they focus on the privacy laws for different ones, like the U.S. government. I guess they're inactive, but there's one for the U.S. private sector, Europe, Canada, and Asia. And Asia's one, if you're going to do business in China, get the Asian one because it will try to help you identify some of the privacy laws. Asian privacy laws are weird because they just change, but it's really restrictive.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's
Good
the
to
one
know.
I'm gonna try to get the CISP and get the CIPP.
Okay.
That could be a pipe dream for me. I've been saying that for a couple years now, but that's what I want to do.
And if I can get it, you can get it. Trust me, it's not that hard.
The problem though, Derek, is I've been in the game for 10 years, so nobody asked me for certs, because I can pretty much quote NIST off the top of my head now. I've been studying the R5 because the new revision 5 just came out, so I've been trying to get up to that because the supply chain domain is super big, so I can quote that off the
Speaking
top of my
of,
head. What's going on?
speaking of the supply
The
chain,
supply chain.
what is the, so I know from and you can talk about from icy squared, but I know from sans.org they have a supply chain cert. I'm sure you all have one. I think it's under here. No, industrial controls right here. And they were looking at supply chain, but that's really huge now. When we're talking about supply chain, because now, we're talking about, uh, that these different hacks, food, even with what we have at the port, logistics, robotics, I mean, the list goes on when we're looking at this. Now, I'm assuming there's some certification out there for some standardization on supply chain.
I've never seen one. Derek might have. I've never seen one on supply chain.
Okay.
NIST just made it a bigger module, so my boss was freaking out. long story short, we argued a little bit. He said, "Well, do we have to do a supply chain on our laptops?" I said, "That'd be crazy. I think the government's going to do supply chain on certain laptops, and there's always a government QPA of what you're going to buy, and they're going to do the supply chain." And y'all old enough, y'all heard people getting hacked through the HVA system, your fish tank. So any software we put on our network, we review off the top. So we review the fish tank, the HVAC, we make sure it's encrypted. So for us, we're already doing it. The thing they added that we weren't doing is they want you to review it every year. We only reviewed it after we did a major update. So he thinks he might need to hire like 2 or 3 people. I did my Tamika. I said, if you make me a credit investor, I could do it all. I can review all this stuff. But no, so from that point of view, as an agency, like I said, anything we put on our network, we review. So I reviewed the HVA system, all that stuff. So,
Right.
but if you don't have that in house, that's going to be a heavy lift.
Gotcha. And somebody had a question, say, if I wanted to start a company that specializes in securing IoT devices, what certifications would you recommend?
I would go I would do the government stuff. I would do your NIST 800-53 because I think the government's going to put those requirements on IoT. So if you're doing NIST or a CMC, then if you look out there, NIST has a SCADA, which is industrial controls. So I would just do that. I don't know. I've never seen a certification. I'll turn that over to Derrick because I know he's in that group. I've never seen a certification for it.
There's not many legitimate companies right now that offer a certification in IoT security. You can go to STAND and take training classes in that, but is there a if you Google IoT security certification, you'll find like a lot of companies that will, but a lot of them don't have any type of background or don't have legitimacy, and it's pretty much just a paper document you have. But with IoT security, you need to make sure you have a background security first, and then, like Professor said, follow some of the NIST standards that are coming out, being knowledgeable of those recommendations, and maybe take some STAND classes. But right now, there really is no certification that someone said, "Oh my God, you have XYZ certification. Let me hire you." No, there's none of that right now. You just need to show that you have the background and experience, so you can do what you're selling.
I would add to that. I would add, like, even with the IoT devices, that gets back into the embedded side, and understanding, like, just embedded Windows and Linux security. Like,
yeah, I was screaming, say Linux. All that stuff. When I looked at, because I was looking at a smart meter to do SCADA for it was Linux. It was embedded Linux. So really, it was the crazy thing. It was actually a stripped down version of Red Hat. So I just took the Red Hat checks out of the STIG, even though Derrick hating on my STIGs today. I just took down the stripped down version of STIG and I gave them to the guy. And I said, let's go through which one is, and 70% of them apply. Because embedded Linux, you know that to make it, most of those checks gonna apply. So I was like, let's run these and see where we're at.
But that's what I would start. And also, if that IoT device 9 times out of 10 is communicating outward to something, right? So this gets into the weeds. I'm gonna bring it up. I don't know if you all are familiar with GeoInt, right? I actually was gonna talk about it this weekend. When we started talking about everything in your house, your car emits a signal.
Right.
There are people out there that can grab that signal.
Facts.
Right? And that signal lives on a particular spectrum. And people can decipher what that is. So, I don't know if you do this. I do this when I'm driving, or even if I'm sitting down. I'll be driving and I'm looking at the headlights or in the cars that are coming towards me to determine what type of car it is. It's the same thing with the sound. There's a particular sound that certain things let off to determine what it is that's coming towards you, right? Or determine what it is that's out and about, right? So this is not foreign information. This ain't classified information or nothing like that. I'm just giving you, when we start talking about GeoInt and sounds and things like that. So those IoT devices is where I was going with that. A particular IoT device emits off a particular wavelength or sound. So how do I protect somebody hacking that? Right. You got to think about even space. Like we launched Starlink launched 32,000 Linux satellites. You don't think those Linux satellites is letting off something, something? And how do we protect from someone getting that? Right? Is that built into the device? Is that some kind of dampening that we have, or something that protects that you can't get this signal from 15 feet? I don't know if, are you all familiar with the car hack? I told you about this before, where people they have it's a two-person system. They're stand outside your house, and somebody is grabbing that signal from where your actual key fob is emitting a signal back to your car, and then somebody's over there checking to see if they can get in. Once they get that signal, they get in. They do it in 30 seconds.
Facts.
They get in, boom, get your car started, and then they out of there. And they
Replay
don't need
attack.
they don't need to bust the windows out your car
No.
like Jasmine Sullivan. All right.
Replay attack. Standard replay attack. Grab the signal,
Right.
replay it. Yep.
Right. Right. So when we're looking at these things, it's just it is one of those things that we have to be aware of. So like the Faraday cages, just simple things you could do around your house, but this gets into uh someone made a Faraday cage for keys, right? That's another thing. You're gonna start seeing more of these things come up, especially with these IoT devices. Nest already got hacked, right? They already Ring
Right.
got hacked. Ring got
Oh
hacked.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of them
Yeah,
got
Ring
hacked.
got hacked.
Our
Yeah.
drones got hacked. We were flying over China. China, because the encrypt, like you said, encryption went late. China was looking at our cameras, looking at their stuff because they forgot to encrypt
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, I think at one of our last chapter meetings, we had someone talk about drones and how they're easily hackable, how
yeah.
uh, they're designed to send data back and forth, and encrypting
Mhm.
is a secondary, something secondary
Facts.
they put on.
Facts.
They just want to make sure it works first. But
Mhm.
yeah, you'll be surprised. Everything transmits data.
Oh yeah.
And at DEF CON, there's a part called the Wall of Sheep. When you go to DEF CON, they tell you don't bring your phone, don't bring your
Right.
wallet, because it what happens is people walk around with like fake access points or whatever,
Hmm.
and yeah, you'll see a wall of sheep. What they do is when they find it, they'll post it on a big electronic billboard, so and so's phone number, etc. They won't show you a password like that. They just show like, hey, we got someone, you're a sheep. So yeah, it shows you how much is being transmitted, especially with cars nowadays. Hey, my car's the engine lights on, or it's a convenience,
Hmm.
but it comes at a price, and that
Mhm.
price is your security. So yeah, you like I said, you can do the whole Faraday case like that. It's just a matter if you want to be 100 secure, how much of the inconvenience do you want to suffer? Because some people like the fact that they can walk into their car and automatically unlock and adjust the seats
Oh,
for
I
it.
do. I do.
Yeah,
But Dave, you know this. You transfer risk. That's why I bought insurance, right? If you steal my
yeah,
car, it's insured. I transfer the risk to the insurance company, right? You got to transfer your risk.
yeah.
Yep.
No, but that's true.
And the other part to this is these are all jobs we're talking about,
Mhm.
right?
Facts. Facts.
So we talk about it, but these are actually jobs that people can get, right. There's a cybersecurity team for BMW, Mercedes,
Facts.
Honda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a cybersecurity team, and when I say that, I'm
Absolutely.
talking from a car's perspective,
Oh
Oh yeah.
yeah.
not just the company itself, right. So
Mhm.
you just have to be aware of what your options are. What do you see yourself like, like if you're just starting out and you say to yourself, I want to work at a Fortune 500 company, you know um and this is what I tell people, and I don't think a lot of people do this. What are the top 500 companies, right? What are the top 500 companies? Just the top Fortune 500 companies, and go down this list. every one of these companies has cybersecurity. They got some type of uh, 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 network, cloud, data
Mhm.
center, something.
Huge teams,
You
huge teams.
you can't go wrong with these with these
Yeah.
companies. Amazon, Apple, CVS Health,
Mhm.
United Health Group, Berkshire Hathaway, McKinsey, Alphabet, Exxon Mobil. Right, these all these companies have everything: cloud security, data security, privacy,
Right.
uh, uh, data at rest,
Yeah.
storage, network engineering, and the list goes on. So, if
Right.
you're looking for a job and you're like, what company is hiring? I'm pretty sure every last one of these Fortune 500
No,
companies
no.
Yeah.
are
And
hiring.
that was one of the things a lot of times when I see folks that are coming out of school, they're like, "Oh, what do I apply for a job for?" People get the wrong idea. They want to apply for an IBM or one of these big tech companies. And like you said, every company has a tech department. Even Publix has a humongous tech department.
Huge
Yeah,
value pack.
but people don't really consider those. I'm like, you're missing out
Right.
a great opportunity because,
Yeah.
you know, Publix, women's stores have tech companies, clothing companies. What Talbot, they have a big site in Tampa. I'm like, why don't you want to work with these? Like, oh, they don't have tech. I'm like, yeah, trust me, they do. Publix,
Yeah.
those ATMs, those
Yeah.
cash registers, that's all computers. Uh,
Right.
Logistics.
yeah,
Yeah.
UPS, and but yeah, I think people oftentimes get confused thinking I must apply at a big tech company because I'm in
Um,
IT. Like, no, don't do that. You're competing against 5 million people with your same background. Go
yeah.
to these other companies and you'll get a better experience and you'll learn a lot more.
I
Yep.
worked at a lot of small. I worked at an insurance company, company that built shopping malls. They all had IT companies.
Hmm.
And you learn a
Right.
lot. I learned about how to act to buy land, how to hide money because I worked in a wealth company. Like you said, all
How
this
to hide
company had.
money.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But you
Like
know the
you
game.
all,
They were putting them in trust for the kids. Then you could pay them out so much. Then you have life insurance. So when you die, they don't
Whole
get
life
taxed.
insurance
Yeah,
policies.
so they had all that stuff computerized. When you came in with your portfolio, you plugged in the numbers, and it came out with this base package to start with. So I had to program it. So I was like, oh, that's how rich people hide their money. So you just learn different stuff
yeah,
in there. But like you said, it was all of them. Some of them were small and some of them were big. Like I said, I worked at a Fortune 500 insurance company. We had 400 programmers around. We had 400 programmers because they were buying four other insurance companies every year. So now, like you said, there's a ton of that work out there.
yeah,
Yeah, and
and
I think Toyota is the sixth largest company in the world. You don't think they got tech?
Oh
Toyota,
man, wow.
yeah,
like
yeah, and
Toyota doesn't look bad on your resume.
No
yeah.
facts.
A lot of times when you work for these like humongous big tech companies like IBM or AT&T, they're going to hire you to do one thing. When you work at
Facts.
a smaller company, you're going to work on a lot of different things.
Hmm.
Your job description is going to be very fluid, and you're going to learn a
Mhm.
lot more. So that's why I tell people like, yeah, it's nice to have like, oh, I worked at IBM on your resume, but when you want to learn something, these smaller companies you're going to learn a lot more because you're going to your job description is going to change every month.
Yeah, I
Right.
did. I did everything. I was the DBA, the programmer, the data warehouse guy. So now you're right. I learned so much. Then when you go to the big company, you can put all that on your resume and say this is what you did for the small
Yeah,
company, and they put you, at a higher level.
yeah,
And that's the other thing too. Like when you all are looking for jobs and stuff like that, don't be afraid to one switch up your resumes. And then the other thing too is that I tell y'all all the time, if you see something on the job description that you've never ever seen before, go download it and play with it if you
yeah,
can. So that way when they get in the conversation, they say, hey, have you ever played with such and such before? I saw that on the thing. I went and downloaded it and I played with it, and this is how far I got. I took some screenshots, or hey, the web server's still up if you want to hit this address and we can walk through and I can tell you about what I had to do in order to get it installed or whatnot. It just shows you took the initiative. You're proactive versus reactive, right? And so now they're not really like waiting for you to come in and like, oh, well, they don't know nothing about it. Oh, they took the liberty and the effort to gain some knowledge about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's very few things you can't go download and find nowadays.
Agree.
You can get a development account on Azure, AWS,
Right.
Google,
Like
and
automation
spin it up.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Also, one thing I want to talk about that site, which are Indeed,
Mm-hmm.
certifications. A lot of times people like when I ask what certification I get. Well, in on Indeed, I think you scroll to the bottom. There's a salary estimator. What is that? I can't remember.
Accessibility
Salary.
salaries.
Yeah. Click on salaries. If you want to know how much is a certification worth, you type in the job title. Let's type in CISSP and
In the
then type
what?
where it says what for
Okay.
the job title. Type in CISSP and then where put Tampa and do a search. And it'll give you an estimate on what the salary range is. So you can also just in the other search. So let's say someone says, "Hey, get a what is like a hacking certification."
You have
Put
to
that
put
hack,
happen.
yeah, put that in there, and it'll give you an idea of what you can expect. Because a lot of times people get
Wow.
the marketing is completely awful. These certification will say, "Get a certification, you make $1 million," and you find out that no, you're not. You're this is what the average rate is for someone with that certification. So this is what because like I said, there's a ton of certification. They really anyone can create a certification. Put that certification name in there and see how much the going rate is for that someone with that certification. It's a good tool that I recommend which certification to grab. Like someone asked earlier about a IoT certification. Actually, there's probably a lot of companies out there that offer one, but when you find a certification, put it in there and see how much someone is willing to pay you for the certification. Because if no one's willing to pay you for it, you just pretty much got it just for your own reference.
Yeah, and I
Excellent.
like using Blind as well too.
Mhm.
So Blind has like they'll have people that'll post like, "Hey, I have my CISSP. This job is offering this. Is this a good offer? Should I go back and negotiate this, that, and other?" And they also have job postings as well too. There's
Yeah.
also levels FYI. If you want to get into levels FYI and start looking at that, right? So just a FYI when you're looking at I like to use multiple places, right? Because I would want to see what my range is. Like what's my low range and what's my golden ticket range, right? What's my top tier. And if the company is below that range, right? Well, there's no need for us to talk because I already know you
Right.
below what the low is, right? And then if a company comes in like maybe just a little smidge above it, I'm like, well, I know you got some more money. I'm gonna try to push open the doors. Let's go ahead and push that open and see what we got, see what we can get. But just know your worth and know what the ranges are. You always can say like, hey, what's your salary range? You don't have to say what's your salary. You can say what's the range, right?
Yeah.
And go from there.
Yeah. I think COVID has affected a lot of that now because a lot more companies are allowing you to work remotely. So
True.
it's changing up that range thing because it's not that common to see jobs out in California that will allow you to work remotely. So now you have to look at okay, what is the range in California?
Hmm.
But yeah, it's going to be because so many more companies are allowing to work remote from home. It's going to be interesting to see how those ranges are going to change because
Right.
I know a lot of companies who are in these high cost cities are now looking for people who aren't in those cities just for that specific purpose because it's easier to hire them and cheaper.
Right.
The company I used to work for, they had a couple of positions that were open for $100,000, and they said it went for like 2 years and no one would have even applied for them because they were in California, in LA. $100,000 in LA, you're pretty much living in your car pretty much.
Right.
So yeah, they're
Right.
like, yeah, but someone that is in like Florida or Alabama, Mississippi, oh, you'll kiss them in the mouth if they offer you a position for $100,000.
Facts. No, that's true. That's weird.
No,
I've been doing Indeed forever, and I didn't know that exists. So I learned something today. I'm like, oh, I
Oh,
didn't know I could do that. Okay.
yeah.
well, Dice has the same thing too,
Yeah.
right? Well, here's a
Ah,
trick that you could do on Indeed. I don't know if you ever did this on Indeed. All right,
I don't
so
even do Dice anymore. Is Dice still relevant? I just do straight Indeed.
I'm doing comparisons.
Okay,
Yeah.
So
good point.
if you come here and say like you type CISSP, right? You can also type in CISSP and then type in say 190, right? And it'll go through and search and pull those jobs that at least show the 190, right?
Yeah.
But what happens if you don't do that 190, right? Let me show you what happens. When you come up here to salary, where's my salary? Estimate, it just gives you more than 135, so you get a lot more. So if you put the dollar sign and then what you're looking for, now you can say, okay, well here's here's where they're at, right? You know, so now you can see what jobs are out there that are offering that, right? So you can do 190,000, and then now you can see like, okay, this company First Pro Inc., Capital One, all right, Brook Source. All right, here's one that's talking about with blockchain. So now what you do is now you go to their website for these companies and look and see what else they got.
Yeah.
Right, what other jobs they have. This is just
Mhm.
what you see that's posted.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, if you use Glassdoor, uh,
I hate
Glassdoor,
Glassdoor.
uh, I like it because whenever I go for an interview, I want to know how many steps I got to go through. It's like, yeah, I'm like, oh, we got 6 interviews. I'm like, oh, if I'd have known that before, I would never even applied. But yeah, I like,
Facts.
Right.
yeah,
Facts.
Oh, so
yeah,
that's why when someone emails me, I say, "What is your interview process and salary range?"
yeah,
If you tell me it's 2 interviews, then I'm okay. If you tell me it's going to be a series of 6 interviews, I'm like, nah,
yeah.
I'm
I'm
cool
good.
with that. We just got to be talking accredited investor money.
Investor,
That's
right? That's what
yeah.
I'm
It's just
saying. Like,
it's so
like so, interview process and salary range that let me
facts,
know
facts.
whether or not I want to continue to have this relationship with you after this
Yeah.
phone
No,
I,
call.
facts.
I've seen somewhere you go through like 6 interviews, you take a test,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm like, you better be paying at least 6 digits because if I'm going through all these hoops, I'm not working for 35,000. Not
No,
that 35,000 is bad, but if I'm
no,
going
it's
through this many
bad.
interviews and go through a SANS test, you better be paying me 6 digits because
Right.
I'm not
Facts.
doing this for nothing here.
Right, and it's okay. Like, um, again, I think we're all grown here. It's okay to be in a 6 figure range. I mean, it's not like it's not doable in tech, right?
Yeah,
We got this. Um, I don't want to say fear. I think we have an issue when we say, yeah, I make, you know, 300,000, 400,000, 500. I think we have a problem saying that. And you shouldn't have a problem saying that if you worked hard and you
Facts.
put in the time and you
Facts.
put in the effort and those long study hours. You shouldn't have a problem
Mhm.
saying that, right? And
yeah,
you shouldn't feel bad about it, right? But we do have a problem with it, and we do, and I just wish that one day we get over that. It's just we're at that point um now where, Google, I did a report on it the other day, is looking to train 40 million people. 40 million people, right? So what does that mean? And I'm looking at it from a us perspective. It's not, it's not 40 million of us in tech.
mm,
Facts. Facts.
So what is it that we're missing to get us to be okay, right? It's okay. It's all right that you went to school, you studied, you stayed up all night studying the exam. You literally went through this book. You went through this
Facts.
book.
I
You
own that
came
book.
out, you went to apply for this job, you crushed the interview, they offered you this money, and you're embarrassed about what you accomplished, right? Didn't know what you worked for. Isn't that
Yeah,
what you went through?
it's
Well,
crazy because they be on my channel talking about imposter syndrome. I had to Google it at first. I was confused with that term. So no, that's definitely out there. Like you said, I told them if the Most High gave them to you and you grind for it, you deserve it. So
Right,
yeah,
it
right,
didn't magically showed up on it. You worked for it. So
right,
yeah. And a lot of times people will feel guilty about asking for that because they may be in a city where the budget is low. So, like for a long time, Tampa was always a back office city where you go because you want a cheap labor, have to pay taxes. So, the offer someone from Tampa $60,000. Oh, you should be thankful for it. But most states now are producing people with those same tech skills
mhm.
that will earn them a couple of $100,000. So people should not feel embarrassed by asking for what they're worth.
right.
If you're in Mississippi and you're doing the same thing that a person in New York's doing, there's no reason that you're making $70,000 less than them. You should
Right.
not be scared to ask them.
Pay
Like, you
me
know what?
for my experience.
Yeah, there
Thanks.
you go.
Not based on my location, my
Yeah,
my my experience. My location has nothing to do with my experience that I'm bringing to you, right?
Right.
So I don't like companies like that. I just don't apply for them. Like, no, I'm good, right? You know,
yeah,
and everything's right. I talk to recruiters all the time, and I've had recruiters say, "Oh, yeah, you're making that Seattle money." I'm like, "No, I'm not." I'm like, I'm
you're
making
damn
the
right.
money that my experience drives, right? And the other flip side to that is, you know, people have a misnomer about what's a lot of money. Well, if you
Facts.
go and look at Netflix
Facts.
and look at their base salaries, not their total comp, just their base salaries, they five and $600,000, $700,000.
Yeah, I struggle with that to be honest. Yeah.
like
No.
like what? So that 150 that you making over here, and you put in the work and you go get hired at Netflix and you making that over
Right.
there, like, who are you to tell me that's a lot of money? It may be a lot of money to you at
Facts.
that point in time, but I know some people over here that's doing that. So it's all relative, and you can't go back and forth with a person about like what it is. It's just you didn't take the plunge to try to do it for yourself. But I
Facts.
am. I'm gonna go take that plunge and go try to do it and try to make something happen. So that's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tamika and another channel, Black Heights. Y'all on the same page because I make real good money, but then when you start talking about investor money, and he actually is a deployment engineer, so he gets 2% of the profits.
Hmm.
So when he showed his check, I almost blacked out. I was like, I ain't making no money. I'm gonna have to get on Tamika thing. I thought I was doing something. I'm confused. I got 30 years in the game. Even though I'm doing well, I'm up there with Kevin Samuelson, high value, but I'm gonna need to step my game up a little more. Shout out to Tamika. She got me thinking different. Even though I'm an old dog, when you talk about money, I'm like, yeah, I need some investor money. I ain't quite there. I can see the investor money, but I ain't on the investor money yet.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yep.
so
And,
shout
and
out to
and
you.
thank you. But that comes from just me researching about it. Is
Mhm.
is for example, if I, because I was looking at it today, like what are the steps they need to take? Like there's a Series 65 exam that you need to
Check.
take if you want to
Mhm.
if you want to get if you want to charge 2% for managing the fund. But you
Facts.
don't have to manage the fund. You
Uh-huh.
can say there's 0%. So what
Mhm.
does that mean? So I don't get any kickback from that. But what it means is I can go out to my friends in order to get money from them. But guess what? They got to be an accredited investor
Facts.
in order for
Facts.
me to get that,
And
right?
we
To be invested into this fund.
right,
Well,
right.
what does an accredited investor look like? And what are we going after? So if we wanted to say a company here in Tampa comes up and we are an investment group, and we want to go make an investment into that company as for to drop $20,000 into that company
Facts.
before they even do their first round of Series A, right?
Facts. Facts.
And we want to. I can't do. Say I can't move
Right.
with my group if my group don't have what we need. So what? So to me, getting into tech and making that kind of cash it helps you out. A accredited investor starts at 200,000 for
Nice.
two consecutive years. For that, if you want to be an accredited investor based on your worth, it needs to be $1 million. If you
Nice.
are a husband and wife, it is 300,000.
You want to get
So
married, Tamika? No.
so this is what it is, right?
Oh, facts,
And
facts,
so and
facts.
so and so when we're talking about these things, these are keep in mind that mindset, right? Like like keep in mind that these things are possible. Like they're not impossible. I've showed you the jobs. I've showed you how much they pay. I just showed you some jobs in here, 190, right? These things are not far fetched and far reached. It's just you have to do the work. And guess what? This is what's so beautiful about it. You ain't got to do it alone. We're here
Facts.
to help you.
Facts.
We're here to help you. We're here
Facts.
to say, okay, look, this is how you do it, right? This is all right. Look, okay. So we talked about GDPR. We talked about
Oh yeah.
data processing. We talked about cybersecurity. Now what? What you gonna do? What's
That's
gonna be
all
your
right.
next step?
Oh,
What
I'm
do you?
going to PwC. I'm about to go sell my soul to one of the big companies and become a practice manager. To be honest, I've been kind of shying away. Derek know what it's about. You go out there, you got to get on an airplane, travel, sleep in crazy beds, but I don't know.
I
You
don't
got to be
know
thinking.
I don't know what you talking about. I mean, you don't sleep in crazy beds. I mean, depending on what the per diem is,
All
you
facts.
get a nice little Marriott that got
All
some
facts.
breakfast
You're right. You're
downstairs
right. So
that
yeah.
they know that you're coming in.
Right. So, and I've been in the game long enough and I know NIST and, those guys eat on this, so I can eat on them, eating on that, getting that federal money. I just got to manage a team.
Yeah, I'm surprised you just didn't start doing government contracting or doing business development where you then looking at
I'm
companies
lazy.
that are coming up
I'm
that
lazy.
want to start. Here are the steps that you need to be in the
Facts.
game in terms
Facts.
of your security and the
Right.
security posture that you need to have.
Right.
I can work with you to walk you through and get the paperwork done. Then
Right.
from there, he was like, hey, we can work with other people to do business development so you can get government contracts. You get a
Right.
little money off of that, maybe 2% off of that
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
And then build that company. But that be your model. Now you're just doing business development. And now you're keeping up with the standards. You're the
Right.
person that keep up with the standards.
Mhm.
You make sure they adhere to it, but then you automate that so that way you don't have to worry about it.
No, facts. Yeah, I was just lazy. I just got with a mid-sized insurance company. Got my Kevin Samuelson money and just sleep in my same bed. Don't go anywhere. Go to the same place every day. I talk to my CISO like he works for me. I gotta be polite, but I ain't got accreditation money yet. So I'm like, I might need to change up. I might need to change up a little bit. So
Yeah. And it's just you just gotta be willing to put in the work. You saw that comment. Yeah.
yeah.
Q4 is always in here talking trash.
No
Ain't nobody
COVID
trying to
bed.
sleep in no COVID bed. That's why you got
Facts. Q4 young
Lysol
though.
and
I like
Febreze.
Yeah.
Q4. Q4
Look,
young.
yeah, look, and if you don't want to do that, bring your own sheets.
Facts.
Bring
Oh
your
yeah.
own.
Q4.
You can run right to Walmart and get your own sheets.
Facts. Q4
Robitussin.
young though. He like that stuff. I'm old. I like my same bed, my same drive to work. I've been
Yeah,
at the same client site for 10 years, just telling them the same shit
yeah.
every day.
Professor Black Ops, we wouldn't work out. Let me tell you that now. We
We
wouldn't
will
work.
work out. We will work
We
out.
won't work out because I'm gonna be ready to go, and you gonna be like, you can't order in.
Oh
Why
no,
we
because
gotta
I
go
know.
there?
Gotta
Because
hit the streets.
as an old guy, when I'm with you, I know what I'm signing up for. Like I gotta get my energy up. To me, we're gonna be trying to go to Mexico next week. I gotta get my energy up.
Trying to go. What are you
Facts,
talking
facts,
about?
facts. But I'm gonna
So,
give you the Q4. He young though. He got a lot of energy, man. Q4 young. I'm
thank you
old.
for passing me on. Thank you for passing me.
No, I know he gonna be in good
Pass me
hands.
on.
Nah, I know you're gonna train him up right. I know you're gonna train him up right. You're gonna have him in accreditation money for next week. So he in good hands. He in good hands.
Look, I'm gonna give you the Q4. I don't need you over here. This is not what we need, right?
No, facts.
You go on over there. Oh,
Facts,
over
facts,
there.
facts.
So I don't know if does anybody else backstage. I don't know. You more than welcome to come on screen. We're gonna wrap it up because we've been rolling
Yeah. Oh
here
my
and
God, it's 10:30 here. My old ass need to be in
Yeah.
the
yeah.
bed.
Look,
Bedtime,
man, you
man.
talking about bedtime? I'm getting ready to go right.
Oh,
uh,
So
young energy.
I think I got you by about 10 years though. I think I got you by about 10.
nah,
You don't
you
think so?
tried.
I tried.
It's okay.
All
Yeah,
right, all right.
it's all right.
But I'm going to
You,
bed. Me and
you gonna
Derek
have to
about to,
get. You
me
gonna
and
have to
Derek
get
get to
in the
get some
game.
rest. We get for
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, and everybody, you feel free to come up. This is gonna be our last little question for the night. I know Derek got to go to bed. I know
Mm.
Professor Black Ops got to go to bed.
Barely making it.
He about to fall out right now.
Barely making it. Barely. D was nice to me today, so I feel a little better.
But I do want to say I appreciate you, Derek, for hanging out with us on a Friday night. You know, like
Facts.
I had my sippy cup. You know,
Not
I had my sippy
gonna act
cup.
us in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had my sippy cup, and I appreciate you. Let everybody know how they can find you if they want to find you. And if you got any social media, you probably don't since you're doing security. You probably don't have any
Social media in
social
there.
media.
You can find me. You can find me on LinkedIn. Derrick Thomas, Deloitte. Yeah, I don't do social media. I don't post what I eat for lunch or like that crazy stuff. So no, just find me on LinkedIn. That's good enough.
And
Um,
what about your B sides?
you can Bsides next year if you go to our site bsidetampa.net, or you can also Google ISC2 Tampa Bay chapter. I'm the president of that chapter, and we have a data privacy legal talk coming up on the 30th. If you're interested in knowing if you're breached, what are your responsibilities? We have a talk coming up on that. Um, we have a few training classes. And if you join our IC Square chapter, you get access to all of our stuff and a lot of things that are going on. I believe each year we have a winter event. This year we're renting out a theater, and we'll be showing a private screen of Spider-Man movie. And you have a couple of free items that we're giving out. It's our meet and greet in our end of the year social. So please come out. I'll definitely send you guys out invites to come on board. Got to
You
have
got any virtual
customer.
events?
Yeah, the talk that's the web that talk about legal hacks and breaches. That's going to be on the 30th, which is a virtual event. We'll be doing an AWS security class, which will be virtual, which we'll have coming up soon. I'll publish that out in another week or so.
All
And
right.
also B-Sides will be part virtual also. But you can, if you want to know more about B-Side, just go to YouTube. We put most of our talks out there, except the talks that are private out there. So just go out to YouTube and Google B-Side Tampa talks. We've been doing it for like 9 years now. So just pick a year and you'll see a lot of great talks.
All right. And then in terms of your AWS security, are you all going to be virtual or is hybrid or
It'll be a virtual class.
is a virtual class? Okay, cool. Would it be a certification class towards
You
that or
can.
is it just a general?
It's it's gonna be general, but you can use it as a prep for the AWS security certification. We just can't officially say it's a certification class because AWS wants to uh, put the
Yeah.
kibosh in that. They restricting that, but yeah, you will be able to use the information you do that if you want to prep for the AWS certification certificate.
Right. And my recommendation to anybody that wants to do any type of cloud security, go look at the security model at AWS and Google Cloud,
Facts.
Oracle, Azure. Just look at their security model, right? In terms of like they have a whole security hub, and then just walk through that and just start familiarizing yourself with how would you secure your VPC? How do you secure your networks, your resource groups? Switching languages here between Azure and AWS, but what does that look like? And at the same token, understand how to automate that stuff, right? and look at talks. We post talks in our Slack group all the time. Derrick, are you a part of our Slack group?
I'm going to be a part of it now. Now that you talked about how to get on
Man,
there,
we've
so
been
yeah.
talking about Slack forever.
Everyone talked about Slack and Discord. I'm like, oh, I'll do all that stuff later. But now I have a reason. Now I'll join your Slack group now.
Nice.
Join the Slack group. We post talks about, especially from Usenix, their talks on cryptography. I post talks on just in general about hacking. What does that look like? How people get started? Just so you people are aware. I know our Slack is a lot of information. We get complaints all the time. Like, it's so much information, I don't know where to start. Just click on it and start.
Facts,
Just
facts.
click on it and start,
Gotta
right?
start somewhere.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. And D, is there anybody backstage? I don't think so. Because you would have said so.
Yeah,
I don't think
I'm the
so.
only one.
Okay. All
I'll
right.
be the
Cool.
only one.
All right. Cool. Well, I appreciate everybody. I see y'all in the comments. We appreciate you from coming out, hanging out with us on a Friday night. You could have been anywhere in the manosphere, but you chose to be here. All right, y'all be safe, and we'll catch you in the morning.
All right. Thanks, folks.
All
Good
right,
night.
thank you.
Yes.